After a week away from the track, the Velocity Online Racing IR-18 series returns with not one, but two races at the Phoenix Raceway. It's races 3 and 4 on the calendar, and the Reiter Engineering 280 will come in a pair. It's going to be Phoenix Raceway for both events of the night, and we kick off here. Practice is live for our 75-lap first feature, and it's going to be qualifying in just a few moments. Welcoming you back live on FTN this Saturday. We've got multiple streams prepared, but we're going to kick it off with some open wheel action. I'm David Kreutz, commentating and producing, and alongside me today, Gary Godso. As we saw last week, great racing in this series, and we get to come back to a smaller circuit, 1 mile in length, and we have ourselves two races. So tonight we're going to see things unfold from the first to the second. Definitely going to be drivers getting into the rhythm here with this first race before we move on to our longer feature. 100 laps for race 4, 75 laps for this third race on the schedule, and right now Liam O'Sullivan is at the top of the board. Gary, as we get things going here and kick off our night of racing, how do you think it's going to go through with this first race, understanding we've got ourselves a double to look forward to?
Racing traditionally, the earliest one that I could think of is 1971. They started the season off at down in Argentina, of all places, where they had there's an oval down there that's 2.8 miles in length, banked at 25 degrees, and they did a double. The first doubleheader that I really remember was down there in the 1971 USAC Championship car season. But traditionally, since then, doubleheaders have shown up on the schedules, such as Atlanta. Texas Motor Speedway has done doubleheaders. Of course, we also see the doubleheader quite frequently now. We're going to see it this year at Milwaukee and also at Iowa. But we're going to see a same-day doubleheader here. Now, some of these races were weekend doubleheaders. This is a same-day doubleheader. So we're going to have a race in the daytime during somewhat heat conditions. 114 degrees is the track temp now. And then we're going to see a race at night, where the track temp is going to be a lot lower than that. So we're going to see a lot of comers and goers in the first race. Those that like a slick racetrack and can definitely manage your tools are going to do well in the first race. The second race might be a little bit more about all-out speed, probably why it's a little bit longer. And then also management of your gear in that second race, because there might be a little fuel mileage going on. But we're about 45 seconds away from getting to the quals, and O'Sullivan is the, right now, leader in practice, a 190.299 mile per hour lap. Has him at the top of the practice chart. So we'll see if he can back that up when we go into heat of the day qualifying coming up here in about 25 seconds.
Liam O'Sullivan was very quick last race at Kentucky, and we're seeing him for the second time this season. And before we do get on to qualifying, a few rules we'd like to break down for tonight's events, not only relevant in qualifying, but throughout all of tonight's races. Here are some quick rules that you got to keep in mind as we get things going tonight from Phoenix. Drivers will get penalties for pit violations. They're permitted 3 pit boxes in and out of their cars. But after that, you're going to experience the black flag. Lap cars have the right to defend their position on track here in the ovals, and when it comes to those lap machines, they can get their laps back through the lucky dog procedure and waiting for a caution. 2 extra sets of tires in the pits for both races, and the apron is only permitted here in qualifying, so keep that in mind. It's not like a stock car race where that dog leg is very applicable. Instead, you've got to manage with the traditional asphalt layout. It's honestly a challenge to use that dog leg regardless, so don't expect to see that all too much as the race goes on here. Qualifying beginning, and we talked about it pre-race. The dog leg really not going to work out too well for these drivers, but if you want to try it, you can try it now.
Yeah, you can't improve a position. You can do it now. You can't improve position during the race on it. You can allow traffic by, but it's up to you to safely rejoin the track without causing a caution or wrecking yourself or wrecking somebody else, for that matter. Now, the dog leg back in the day used to be not paved in. It is paved in now. Used to be grassed in. And they changed that when I think NASCAR took over the track. But Indycar has been here since I think the 60s is the first time they came back. So this is a traditionally, as I was saying in the pre-race, Indycar made the track famous, and NASCAR made it more famous, I think, is kind of what happened here. But IndyCar for the longest time had 2 races a year up until the mid 80s here at Phoenix. So it's typically an opener and a late race on the schedule. There's number of eras of the USAC, or excuse me, number of eras that IndyCar's race here: USAC era, kart era, IndyCar era. Got a minute 27. Miranda on the pole, 189.806 provisionally. Track records. The old USAC track record held by Bobby Unser in the fall of the 77 race, 148.699. The kart track record set in 95 by those little jet fighter looking guys, and I love those looking cars. Those are awesome. The kart cars. Brian Herta, that's Colton Herta's dad, set the track record here, 181.952. And then when the IndyCar series finally came back for a single race in 2017, Elio Castroneves in the older DW12 looking cars set a track record here of 194.905 miles per hour. That is 6 miles per hour off a 200 mile per hour lap. He is the current track record here. The most wins here at Phoenix includes including the spring and former fall race, which ended here in '86, is a virtual who's who of IndyCar royalty. Alistair Sr. owns 6 wins. Gordon Johncock owns 5. Mario Andretti, Bobby Unser, Johnny Rutherford, AJ Foyt, Tom Sneva, all with 4, and Rick Mears with 3. Bruno Miranda still on the provisional pole, 189.806, 15 seconds to go. Currently, Craig Forsyth is one of those trying to work his way up the pole, work his way up in the order, and he is at 189.2.
And Craig Forsyth sets the final lap of the session. He moves up to 3rd there, but as you mentioned, nobody tops Bruno Miranda. Miranda at the top of the board, Liam O'Sullivan just barely moving up there into the podium, and just like that, qualifying has concluded. Before we bring to you your starting grid for tonight's event, we've got a special message from our race sponsor, Reiter Engineering. Reiter Engineering Esports is looking for new drivers to join the official Reiter Engineering factory-supported esports team. Reiter competes in several high-competition iRacing leagues, such as the Platinum Endurance Championship, IORA, and the Lionheart Racing Series. This team covers all entry fees and setup expenses for its drivers. Telemetry support is available 24/7. Team members will get custom paints for their cars representing their team, and all team members will get the chance to participate in real-life events. Reiter Engineering Esports is looking for drivers located in Europe, preferably of 4,000 I rating. This is more of a guideline and not necessarily of a requirement. If you're interested in joining the team, please send Decipher a message on Discord or join the Discord server to get in contact. We'll put the Discord message in the chat room if you're interested in the opportunity. Once again, Reiter Engineering Esports is looking for drivers, and they're looking for you. Now, let's get to our starting grid and find out the who's who of our race here in the virtual Phoenix Raceway. As we mentioned, at the top of the board for tonight's race, this is the first of 2, and our 75-lap feature kicks off with Bruno Miranda at the top of the board. 19.21 for the number 78 machine, coming in at just under 190 miles an hour. 189.6 for Bruno Miranda, as Julian Altina moves up to second, 19.225, right there outside of the front row. Next up, going to be Liam O'Sullivan in his second race this season. Quick at Kentucky, stays in the top 3 in qualifying, with Craig Forsyth 4th, Mark Murphy in 5th, and Sebastian Kinder in 6th. Pedro Bibel is 7th, with Hunter Smith 8th, Patrick Zilvazzi in 9th, and Edson Santos then in 10th. Gary, let's go further.
Mikado 11th, Donskoy in 12th, Dan Inch, long known him for a while, in 13th, Mauro Ramirez, part of the Team 4, 14th, Josh Tucker, who pretty much dominated the race we had a couple weeks ago, 15th, John Christensen 16th, Cesar Cabral, the friendliest guy in all sim racing, 17th, Vinny Nakuna 18th. We got a big car field here. Get it, Matthias Strauss 19th, Diggs 20th, Holmbaum 21st, Lovern 22nd, Molina 23rd, Bart Feuerstein will return to the series in 24th. Moving on, Jesper Orman, no time, back in 25th. Vanden Bosch back in 26th with no time. Teller, no time in 27th. Irwin, no time in 28th. Hugo Gallas, no time in 29th. Expect to see him come up in the field. And Vicente, no time in 30th. Now, normally I would be reading these out because I'd be expecting the car to go green at this point, but we have to go around to another 2 more turns before going green in the new configuration. So I'm going to hand it back off to you to call the start here of our first race at Phoenix.
It's time to get things moving from Avondale, Arizona. The green flag will fly, and we're underway for the first time here in Phoenix.
I'm really expecting Bruno Miranda to go run away and hide right now. Julian Altena, P2, but he has Liam O'Sullivan get the drop on Julian. Julian aggressively diving underneath him, trying to get that position back, but Miranda, he gone.
And you're right, Bruno Miranda already going to be far out, nearly a full second as a matter of fact. Julian Altena going to be a runner-up right now and looking to get away in that VOR number 11. Then from there, you'll see Liam O'Sullivan dives down to the bottom side. He's looking for space down low, and he's going to take it there. But that top side is going to work out for Altena to keep the spot, maintaining the runner-up position for the time being. And you're seeing how quick these drivers are already. It's going to be a challenge to pass. We mentioned it before the broadcast got started. Everyone is not necessarily on a level playing field, but everyone is quick. So it's going to be a challenge to find out who really has the speed to get away from their contemporaries. Right now, it looks like it's everyone really clogged up with one another. Middle of the field, more of the same. We're seeing some close battles around Maximus Molina, and for Molina, he's not necessarily an open wheel driver most often. Of course, if you're a consistent viewer of FTN, you may remember him from the FORL Cup Series, the Season 2 champion, multi-time winner there, and a competitor in the IORA Cup Series, and previously of Saturday Night Thunder as well. He knows his way around the track here at Phoenix, won a championship here before, but never in this style of course, the car, the cockpit. He's getting adjusted right now, running in 26th, and from first on back, they're running very similar times. Bruno Miranda, of course, setting the pace right now with a 19.5, but as far back as 17th and Matthias Strauss, you're seeing 19-second laps, and these guys are really wiggling the cameras here. And you can tell you this much, everyone's fast. Now it becomes a matter of passing the drivers you want to get around, and how do you do that?
You got to wait for a mistake. That's the big thing. Or get close where you can make the draft move and get a faster exit off the high side of what I call 3 and 4, which is now 1 and 2. But watching a battle right now is the closest three-car battle on the track right now is Murphy, O'Sullivan, and Forsyth. Forsyth and O'Sullivan, Leach lost the position on the start. Murphy up 2 in that bottom step position right now to start, at least in this race. Another quick riser I have noticed is Joshua Tucker up 3 spots as well, a little bit further on back. Jesper Orman, I'm going to say it again. Watch this guy. He's coming from the back. He is up 5 spots already.
As there's trouble here. And it looks to be Cedric Holmbaum, first yellow of the day, one driver involved. And you were mentioning the big movers right now, but we have one driver dropping to the back of our 30-car field. Cedric gets caught up now. We're going to take a brief replay and find out what caused it here. It looks like nobody else got involved, but definitely risky encounter here for the number 10. We're taking a look back right now, so let's find out what caused it. Just up in the wall, it appears, and these guys were side by side. Cedric was in a battle just past the dog leg.
Net code.
Yeah, that was not real contact.
Oh, and a contact on the collection there by another car, unfortunately.
But what kicked it off there, as you mentioned, is that net code that really set it into motion, which is very unfortunate. Drivers racing close, didn't look to be a problem, but just a server side error in that regard, and everyone gets caught up as a result. Cedric gets the worst of it. Looks like Sergio Vincentini also got a piece on the way out. And right now, looks like Vincentini, among others, who went down a pit road, and it looks like most of the field stays out. 10 laps in, we see drivers making it through, and pit strategy already coming into play. That's something we got to keep in mind here.
Yeah, we are at the very edge of the window, actually, to go to the finish here. Was talking in the pre-race to a couple drivers, and anywhere between 50 to 60 laps, they were thinking that they could make on a tank of fuel, considering going with extreme fuel savings there, obviously on that high end. I imagine everybody here is in 6th gear, probably already in engine map 8, which is basically the yellow map for maximum fuel conservation. But some guys have already stopped, and we look a bit further back in the field, and that includes Jesper Orman, Dan Inch, two cars that made scheduled stops. Looks like they just topped off their tanks. Sergio Vicente then with a 9.6 second stop. He might have had damage that was involved in that wreck. Paul Urban also on pit road. It looks like he might have stopped for a splash as well. So some of these cars are kind of towards the back here, playing some strategy, depending on how much fuel they save. And here comes Paul Urban in again to get another top off. might be able to make it now, remainder of the 75 laps with the fuel they have in the car and the set of tires they have on the car. I'm curious, though, if you're going to stop and give up that much track position anyways, why don't you put a new set of tires on? But you're only 11 laps in, so these tires, for the most part, the last 2 laps have been under caution, 3 laps under caution. The tires pretty much most are fresh. But at some point, I'm not quite sure these tires can last 75 laps without being changed. I doubt it. I wouldn't want to chance it. I put it that way.
That's a big risk. Green flag looks to be back out in the air here. Bruno Miranda on the way, and we've got ourselves rolling again, but it looks like Miranda is going to go back under yellow. Yeah, that was weird. They went going, though. And they're going to slow it again.
I think it might be Bart Feuerstein. He's an old series veteran that's been around a while, and I think I'm seeing the damage on his car. 3 cars at the, accordion wreck. I think it started with, I'm not really sure who tried to Feuerstein. It's Hugo Gallas in front of Feuerstein. Molina?
We see Matt Telder got caught up, but I think it started with Alaric Balls right in front, that number 72. We're looking back on stream here just to get an understanding. The accordion effect started there. Yeah, Boss starts very late, and then they all start moving into each other.
So that's the problem, and one of the things I think in the race instructions is the leader could go whenever they want. That's their right. They earn that by being the leader. There is no Geico go zone here in IndyCar. You could, as long as you don't pass the pace car on the track, a la Scott Goodyear, you could control the field. You can go whenever you want. Here, it becomes accordion effect because the drivers behind are being told to go green, but the car in front of them hasn't gone yet. And really, the instructions are for the series drivers to go based upon the car in front of them, not when they're being told to go green, because that will then eliminate any accordion-style wrecks. And unfortunately, when you're in a 30-car field, you're going to get that in the mid-pack, and that's exactly what we got.
And once again, drivers making their way down to pit road. Jesper Orman looks to be there, and we saw him. Victory at Kentucky. Doesn't look to have been as strong so far today. Just getting caught up in it. Back on pit road. Max Molina, 1 lap down. Now making it 2. And Cedric Holmbohm from the previous incident is 5 laps down. Getting a bit of a break if he plans to get back on the track, though. Consecutive yellow flags. Bruno Miranda still leads, and track position really helping out there because you can see the mid-pack and then on back. That's where the problems really develop. If Miranda keeps getting these runs off of course, the start-finish line into the dog leg, he's really going to have a much easier time of winning this one, given the fact we're already 15 laps in.
Yeah, Orman was involved in that one. So he is on pit road getting work. That's probably going to put him at least a lap down. The big gainer to start this race is, and last week's winner, or 2 weeks ago winner, is not going to repeat this week, and he just got collected in the accordion style restart.
We're looking at drivers making their way out of pit road right now. Hugo Gallas goes all the way up to the outside of the pit exit, and he's going to be back on the way. Matt Telder just came off of pit road, so did Paul Irvin, Cesar Cabral as well. So we are seeing drivers making their way into pit road now, and previously we were just on the cusp of going all the way. Could be even closer now, of course, and we're going to put up our predictions in regards to the information about fuel loads on the screen right now. We're expecting a one-stop strategy for the majority of drivers here. I think that's still in effect. Maybe not for those who came down in the first caution, but the original expected race window was from about lap 17 to lap 58 for the one-stopper strategy. The fuel window coming in at about 50, 60 laps. So we're just under that right now, and we'll be right there by the time, of course, we get back to the start-finish line. Drivers are already going to cut it close, and maybe that's going to work out. That's the strategy we're starting to see.
Well, pace car, I believe, is off the track, and the field is now under the control for a long point, because we're going to go all the way through former 3 and 4, past pit entrance, down what used to be the main straight. And these guys are itching. And again, a lot of them are conditioned to think this is the main street as well. So we got a lot of muscle memory going on. So we're not going to see Bruno go probably till midway through 1 and 2, or old 1 and 2, now 3 and 4. There he goes. We're back under green.
Back on the move, Bruno Miranda with those jumps every time. Gains about a half second already, and that's going to put Julian Altena at a big disadvantage. Murphy, O'Sullivan, Craig Forsythe, they round out the top 5. Back of the field gets away. Looks like a smaller bubble of drivers overall. No accordion effect this time through. Got to be careful after you see it happen for the first time. You do not want to replicate it.
Caution again.
And there we have it. Yellow flag once more, and it looks like Paul Irvin, he slowed down, did not catch a piece.
Yeah, Hugo Gallas again. I think not his. I know this driver from Backfire Motorsports very well from racing with him in other series, and I know that he's a particularly skilled driver. And I'm not sure what happened here, but maybe he just didn't have a good car that was repaired from the previous incident. Let's watch again.
I think that has to be the case if we look back and you can see he's
going in
alone.
On his own. Yeah, just on his own.
And unfortunately, that's just how it's going to play out. The damage from the previous wreck, he comes back onto the circuit, and looks like he just loses it coming through turn 2 there. And unfortunately, he collects another. As you can see, Paul Irvin made it out. Bart Firestein, who I think got caught in it, got some damage. Hopefully nothing major there, but Gallas definitely gets the biggest piece and is going to be a major reason, of course, in regards to that 3rd caution of the day.
Yeah, well, at least these guys have another race to come back to, so they can, if they're going to go ahead and retire, they can retire, and then they can come watch the stream with us, and then get ready to jump into race 2 when race 2 commences. But hey, thanks everybody for joining us. So great to have such a good viewing audience and such a great turnout for this race. We got 30 cars, which is right around the same number we had at Kentucky, and that's always. VOR has had a tradition of always bringing good fields to TV for everyone to enjoy. So
we're only getting started, of course. This is the first race of 2. We've got 19 laps in at a 75, so if you haven't had your IndyCar fill for the night, we've got another race coming at you. It's going to be doubleheader at Phoenix, and that race should begin at about 4 Eastern. We'll give you about 100 laps more, and we're back on the way. Once again, the Reiter Engineering 280 here, presented exclusively by Reiter Engineering Esports, as Bruno Miranda has really been the driver to beat all throughout this race. I mean, no doubt, it's all about those restarts and the way he gets off the line. He's got full control, and nobody seems to catch him there. Now, the question becomes, since now we're seeing about 12, 13 drivers, they've come down to pit road, how's it going to be like for drivers like Miranda, Altena, Murphy, O'Sullivan, the drivers who haven't gone down to pit road just yet, knowing they eventually have to? More than a third of the field at this point has already decided to come down at least once, whether it was by their own accord or not. So with these drivers, they're sort of leaving themselves not out to dry, but they're definitely running longer, and they're got to think about that because they could give the advantage to drivers who have gone down to pit road previously, maybe in the short term, but for some of them, track position is everything.
Yeah, and let's take a look at Mark Murphy. Look at his line on the racetrack under caution, right down there on the yellow line. He is down there for maximum fuel saving. That is the shortest way around this racetrack, is right down there on the yellow line, and he is saving every drop. It is conceivable, if you're a good fuel manager and there's enough laps of caution, that you could do this whole 75 lap stint, this whole 75 lap race in a single stint. You do not have to pit if you don't. There's no rule that says you have to pit. If this was road racing, they would all have to pit and change at least to another tire compound. They don't have to do that on an oval track. So a little strategy there by Mark Murphy, getting down on the bottom and using the shortest way around to not use as much fuel as the other cars around him.
And interesting, as we watched on board on the stream, how low the rev count was there. 6th gear at 3,000 revs a minute. Mind you, when these drivers are racing, they can get up to 11, 12,000. So really saving the power, saving the fuel. Huge gains there. But Miranda, wow, what a jump back
jump
on the way.
Yeah, I like that jump. That's a jump I would do. I want to hit that start finish line about almost at top speed. That way I have maximum downforce with tires that have just cooled off going into the next turn, 3 and 4, so I'm not lifting or skating. And now by the time I get to the next turn, I know my tires are up to temperature, so it's a full set and I'm up to 100% speed.
That's going to give Bruno Miranda once again half a second off the bat. Julian Altana's going to have to try to catch back up. He's going to be followed by Mark Murphy. The front runners once again get away very nicely. Liam O'Sullivan remains in fourth as they're side by side just behind. It's going to be Hunter Smith and Sebastian Kinder. Looks like it's now going to be Hunter Smith with the 6th position as you're seeing more and more battles begin to progress once again. There's Pedro Bibel in the number 88 machine, currently running in 8th and looking for another position as it looks like Sebastian Kinder in a hot pursuit of the number 3, whereas it's going to be Bibel and Patrick Zilvazzi chasing down that 97. Looking to the inside, there goes Pedro, and he's looking for the spot, but can't use that dog leg.
All right, possible car to watch if we go green the entire rest of the way. And that's asking an awful lot, but it can happen. Cesar Cabral back there in 17th, pitted on lap 15. He might be able to go the distance. We'll see. I've known this guy to get 38 laps out of a single stint at Indianapolis, when a single stint at Indianapolis normally is 30 laps. So I know he knows how to fuel save. So let's see what he could do. He's the first car of the group that pitted on the racetrack right there in 17th.
And right now runs just ahead of Alaric Vandebus, so he's definitely made his moves in regards to making it further up compared to those with newer tires. There's still drivers going down to pit road. Dan Anch just made it in this time by. Edson Santos was also through, and it looks like more are coming.
Car on a slow car on the low side. Not sure who that is. Edson Santos. Is that Santos on the slow car down low?
And it looks to be, yes.
Yeah, we had a battle brewing here between 7th, 8th, and 9th.
And despite the fact Santos goes low, there is still that battle, and you mentioned it. Pedro Bibel, Sebastian Kinder. Bibel once again drops down to the bottom. He's looking for a pass, makes it in to the lower groove, and he's going to try to take that spot away. But watch how the momentum wraps up for Sebastian Kinder, and he takes a spot back. Simple as waiting and letting the groove come back to you. Just like that, it's going to be the 97, again in 7th place. Quick move, and it gives him the spot right back. And still driving low on the bottom there. We're seeing that looks to be right now not Edson Santos, but instead Dean Steele. Drivers dropping in.
Yeah. So the low line 2, 3, and 4 is not the faster line on exit. You just clearly saw there. So I think Bibel is going to get the position. Caution on the racetrack. Matt Telder.
And he comes right by the front stretch. One driver gets a piece. Yellow flag is out again. Now, this is going to give everyone a chance to come down to pit road. And it's Matt Telder, the first of the drivers involved. We're watching it once again.
He's on his own, just on the corner. It's kind of typical when you got a little too much weight jacker in the car and you're helping you rotate you through 3 and 4. You start chewing up the left rear or the right rear. And when it gets hot and chewed up and it's hot and slippery out there, we're at 114 degree track temperature, back end just comes right around, right on corner exit. So that's might be a case of too much weight jacker. So let's see who stops here. Again, here comes everybody. Let's see if someone stays out.
And Bruno Miranda, Julian Altana, Mark Murphy, your leaders are for the most part in and in. Just like that.
Staying out.
Got a few drivers choosing to go a little different. You're right. There goes Eric. He stays up in front, and we're going to see at the line if anyone else chooses to do so. Looks like very few go for it. Eric McConnell will be the man who takes the charge and decides to stay on the track for now. It's going to be, of course, Bruno Miranda, Julian Altana, Mark Murphy, your former front runners making it in now, so a majority of which have decided to go through.
Yeah, so what we're going to do is get the wave around here for I believe that's Dan Inch. He'll get the wave around, and then I believe Telder will get, I think we have lucky dogs enabled. So if he can get back on the racetrack, Telder will get the lucky dog. If not, then Inch will get the combination wave around lucky dog. So rule in IndyCar Racing, leader always takes the green flag after a caution. So our new leader is Mikado. Sitting there in P1. He's stayed out. He is not pitted yet, so he's banking on a lot more caution. And to be honest, that's probably not a bad strategy right now, the way that we've seen some of these instances to some of these drivers. So Matthias Strauss, he is not pitted yet. And again, he's playing a pretty good strategy right now. I mean, if you don't have to pit and you are getting into your mileage window of where you think you can make it with no stops, don't pit. The one car that has pitted, and we might be able to make it based upon stopping, is Cabral. And I told you, watch him. Well, he stayed out, and he's now up to third. Mauro Ramirez, one of those VOR cars, teammates there with Julian Altena. He is now P4. John Christensen, he has moved his way up to P5. Miranda gave up the lead and has now rejoined the field in P6. So Miranda, if he wants any chance at this first race, has got to work his way around these 5 cars in front of him, 2 of which might probably have to stop, but 3 don't. I'm sure of it.
And that's what it comes down to. We mentioned if push came to shove, Cesar Sobral would have a very good chance of going all the way here with another caution or 2. I think it's going to be just about a full lock. Pitted 19 laps ago, and now we're just about halfway in. Any more yellow flags could shift the balance truly in the favor of this number 70 team. Mauro Ramirez and John Christensen are also set to benefit. Bruno Miranda is still there. He's got track position and would be 4th in the case that Mikado and Matthias Strauss went down to pit road, but that's all hypothetical right now because, you know, these 2 drivers are going to have to bank on this strategy, at least for the time being. And we're going to watch on board right now with our leader, Eric Mikado, see if he's saving fuel. That he definitely is. 6th gear, about 3,500 revs a minute inside the cockpit right now. So he's trying everything to manage the little or lesser fuel that he has to make sure he's got it all the way. Pace car's in, Gary, so it's time to get back at it. Let's see what these drivers have. A few drivers staying out, most of which came in. And right now, Bruno Miranda, no longer your leader.
I would have been on that white line trying to save everything if I was Mikado, and then I could pop up. I in control the start, so no one's going to pass me. He is going on the corner entrance, turn 3. He is underway. Hopefully not a lot of wheel spin there, and he's at full speed through the dogleg. Now in the turn, what they call 1. And Miranda's already around John Christensen.
And already going to be some moves made. Bruno Miranda is going to be in charge. He's going to try to go for Mauro Ramirez. The 66 remains just about a 1/10 of a second ahead. And now it's going to be all about making these spots back up. So long as Mikado and Matthias Strauss get through, it's going to be all about Cesar Sobral, who currently runs in 3rd on his lonesome. It's the red VOR machine right now, really holding fort for the drivers with an older set of tire. Still, Bruno Miranda's trying, but just can't find a way around. Mikado gets a great run and really shows you, no matter what, that track position is huge. He's already got an 8/10 of a second lead. He has not touched the top spot all race long until this point. Now he's driving like he's been there since the start.
And here comes Bruno, looking on the low side of Murrow. Gets the position. Now, Murrow's still in a faster line, but Murrow's going to let him go. I would imagine Merle's probably going to pull up out of the way and, or at least not maybe race Christensen, but probably let Julian through. Those are all 3 team cars. I'm sure they're all talking on radio. Much people don't like team orders. There still is a lot of cooperation between teammates. Mikado has an 8/10 of a second lead over Strauss. Strauss back there, had it by himself. Has a 4/10 of a second lead over Cesar Cabral. Cabral with a second and a half.
Big one. Patrick Zolvazzi up and over. Big trouble. Joshua Tucker's the driver we're looking at, and he is not going to have a chance to get back on the track on all 4s without going to pit road. Yellow flag is out. 36 laps to go. It's the biggest one we've seen all day. And a huge caution. We're looking back. Joshua Tucker definitely gets a piece, and it's side by side, and that sends him up the track. So Tucker bobbles first, and then Netcode really sets it off. I mean, Tucker bobbled, but then he got lifted, and the contact just goes and goes from there.
And Donskoy, kind of watching these laps leading up to it, gets underneath him, up into the wall. So he got damaged, whether Netcode or not, and yeah, and then he flipped over with the, looks like contact with Salvazzi. So Salvazzi, well, I was going to say he didn't have a lot of damage. I think he lost the back wing, so they'll get that fixed. So again, this is all getting into now the strategy of the 2 leaders. Although I believe one of them did stop. So maybe he didn't want to, or maybe he just wanted fresh tires. So that was who was leader? Mikado. So he did stop. So Strauss stays out. Strauss is now banking on the strategy that he could make it without stopping.
And you can look at just a few spots back, and you mentioned this just before we went under yellow. We've got teammates working with each other, Altena Autosport, and you can see the same paint scheme, different colors. Altena, Ramirez, Christensen. They are lined up 4th, 5th, 6th. Well, it comes down to this now. Altena's got the youngest set of tires out of all these three. However, with 3 drivers the same team working together, we might see a little more cooperation up here because it's Miranda, Cesar Sebral, and Matthias Strauss. They're all racing each other. It's not about teamwork for them, but we got a trio, more than a pair, who are going to fight for their, of course, team cause as well as their own, and Altena might be the biggest beneficiary in regards to maybe winning this thing.
Yeah, Team Vors had a pretty good reputation here back in Season 4. I was talking about it in the pre-race. I was a member of that team. All of our cars pretty much looked identical. That would have made your job very tough, but I think we all had slightly different color numbers, but we all finished in the top 8. 3 cars finished in the top 8 that particular race. And a lot of that was on strategy, and a lot of that's because of the number of cautions. So I believe the caution record is in one of these cards we were given, and we might want to keep a track that we might be coming up on the cautions. Most cautions was 8, so we still got time.
And that's a good point. We're going to put that up on the screen for the viewers here. We got a lot of information regarding every time we've gone to Phoenix before this event. Closest winning margin, 18 thousandths of a second. And the largest winning margin was nearly 5.5 seconds. So it can go a lot of different ways. And when it comes down to that, we've seen least cautions here was 2. Most was 8. We're coming up on that now. I believe we're at about 5, 6 in regards to cautions, and we're over the average in that sense. Projected last caution would be around this time, 36 to 40. So maybe we can go green from here, but 8 cautions. We've seen some pretty hectic races before in regards to Phoenix, and right now, Matthias Strauss in that number 8 machine. He's ready to get things going, representing Team Watson Racing setups, and it's going to be pretty in pink up in front. Strategy's played out so far pretty well, but pit road seems inevitable still for the number 8 team.
Yeah, very paint job, very reminiscent of the Sirius or the Meyer Shank team, excuse me. But P2, Cesar Cabral, we think he's done. Miranda definitely is done. But Strauss is going to try to finish this race off based upon not stopping in track position right now. So we'll see. Going green, got a good jump.
And trying it a bit differently all the way up top, still gets a nice launch, as you mentioned. Every leader so far really making good use of that. Matthias Strauss on the way. Cesar Sebral is going to be second, and now Bruno Miranda is in a hot pursuit. If you get around this number 70 machine, the winning charge is going to be that much easier. We got one driver going. It looks like Yaroslav Donskoy down to pit road.
Yeah, so I think he might be hurt. Not hurt, but damaged. The train starts behind Mauro Ramirez, though. That's where I'm getting ready to say. Christensen, Murphy, Forsyth, O'Sullivan, Hunter, all those guys lined up behind. They want to get around Ramirez because the top 4 are getting away.
And now we're looking at the back of this number 44. John Christensen has multiple drivers fighting hard to get through. In Mark Murphy, Liam O'Sullivan, Craig Forsyth. There is smoke, and there's trouble. One driver going to go around. We stay green, and it looked to be Cesar Sebral.
Oh, that's too bad. What happened?
And trouble with your driver running in second. Had a chance to go for the win, and it goes up in smoke.
So he had just a kiss. Oh, and Bruno Miranda's damaged too. But, and Julian hit it too. So not a good day for those guys up front that they might all have damage. Julian, he might have wing damage. I think he hit, we got to go back and look at the replay. I think he hit Cesar. I know Miranda might possibly have some wing damage. We'll see.
And it starts there right beside Miranda. We're watching right now, trying to get a good understanding of the situation, looking back, and then from there, I don't know whether or not Miranda has that damage, but just saw that Julian definitely caught a piece. I mean, that's undeniable. So, Altina, trouble in regards to the wing. We saw that contact.
Weird.
Wow.
So, I'm watching the replay from Miranda's nose, and it's like his piece was made of rubber, and it snapped back into place, and then Julian's car miraculously drew back another wing. So, only in iRacing.
And we see that both drivers got lucky there. I mean, Cesar Saberall definitely doesn't, but for the leaders, maybe there's still a chance to go without damage. How about that? 27 laps to go here. Matthias Strauss sees another competitor gone with the wind, and now it's all about 49 laps on this run so far.
Yeah,
27 laps to go.
25 more laps to get the end, yeah.
Maybe there's a chance.
Hearing some cars running their... if you hear anything on the replay of like cars running their engines at a high rev, there's a strategy, and I think it might be Bruno Miranda, where drivers, what they'll do is they'll drop the clutch, or they'll plug in the clutch, and just peg their engine to the, and it'll hit the electronic limiter. But what they're trying to do is burn off extra fuel. That does kind of impact the engine and its performance, because it does make the engine hotter when you try to do that, but it will make the car lighter because you're burning off some fuel. And I hear a number of drivers trying to do that right now who have probably now too much fuel to get to the end and trying to lighten up.
That's going to be a risk, I think, for some of these drivers more than others, maybe in particular. Of course, I don't think Matthias Strauss can do so, but Bruno Miranda right now seems to be running it, of course, a little cooler, but you mentioned it. Now it's going to be all about setting yourself up to be the quickest on the track. Maybe this leans a little heavier into what we see in the next race, of course, setting up for the longer haul and the 100 laps, now figuring out that short run speed, because we really don't have much time at all. 26 laps to go, this time by to only be 25. It's a sprint from this point onward, and for Matthias Strauss and company, still Strauss leading, it's going to be all about that very short distance from here to the checkered flag. At the line, going to be 1 lap to green. Strauss still your leader, and he's running it risky.
Yep. Yeah, and he's right down there on the yellow line, making that shortest way around, trying to save as much fuel as possible. I think he's going to do it without a stop, unless he gets past here, and then we get a late caution, and everyone in front of him stops. But he's lining up against the wall. It's got a long way to go before we get to the restart zone. And there's not really an official restart zone. It's just you just can't pass the pace car while on the racetrack. After that point, it's within his right as a leader to control the field. He can slow down if he wants. He can go fast, slow down. They don't really like that. And we're watching as he's coming to the cones into the turn, downshifting the first gear. So he's ready to go. Got to watch the wheel spin. These are old tires now. And there he goes.
Getting the launch again, 25 laps to go. Matthias Strauss is going to beat him out again, and that 4/10 gap still going to be built. Bruno Miranda right behind, and it's going to be an all-out chase here for Miranda, Altina, and Liam O'Sullivan now runs fourth, as it looks like the Autosport drivers are keeping him honest in that number 63. Going to be a fight for fourth, but looking back, Pedro Bibel has trouble on pit road, and it looks like luckily nobody else is involved, but Bibel spins on the entry.
No caution. No caution. And Miranda with those new tires, he's right there.
And this could be the move for the race win, locking it down to the bottom side. Bruno Miranda's got the bottom. Matthias Strauss is still up top. At the line, Miranda's leading, but Julian Altina's also in the mix, and it could be the number 11 now, looking for the top spot as well. 22 laps to go. And there we have it. Julian Altina is right there, and we're going to now look on board. One driver in the wall, one driver up and over. It's a cartwheel. We have a yellow flag again. Mark Murphy, no. He's going to be all over the track. Wow.
I think Mauro Romero's might have been involved in it too. Not exactly. Yeah, they both were. So I think if we watch again here, Mauro probably just gets up in the wall and then comes down. Yeah, into the wall, and then Mark has no place to go. No place to go.
And Murphy's still trying to get out of it there. You see the acrobatics up and over. It's a violent flip. And more the nose cone is lost the whole way through, down to the pit barrier, rather the inside safer barrier. Mark Murphy gets caught up in the wall, and it's a violent reaction immediately after there. Looks like Mauro Ramirez caught a piece. That was the fight for the top 5 there to get inside of it. And very close up in front. And close racing sometimes gives way to these very tense moments.
So 2 of last race podium is out. Orman is out with early contact. Now, kind of the last quarter of the race contact now with Murph. So now we got to see how Forsyth can do. He's sitting back there in 5th. He finished second by the slimmest of all margins last week. Miranda has a lead. I'm going to stay a Strauss. I'm doing exactly what he's doing here. I'm staying out. I'm going to hold every bit of my track position now to the end of this race until I absolutely, positively, 100% have to stop. I think he's going to finish this race with no stops.
And you can't quit now if you're in that number 8. Matthias Strauss.
I think he's committed. I think he's committed.
No stopping.
But looking at, he's up 16 spots. He's our big gainer today. John Christensen back in 6th, up 10. Gary Lovern back at 11th, up 11. A little bit further back, Alec Vandenbosch, he is up 12. We do have, there's fewer cars left on the track. I think we're down to 14 that are on the lead lap. I'm not sure how many cars we still have running. But 14 on the lead lap. So Alec Vandenbosch, he might be in a position if he needs to stop again. And I think he just did. He's got fresh air. He's got nothing to lose being back there in the being P14, the last car in the lead lap. Go for it, buddy.
Some drivers trying to go for the hardest run at the end here. 19 laps to go. Not a lot of time, but with newer tire than anyone else in the field, that's a big advantage if you have the speed. Looking right now, it's Vandenbosch in at number 72. 1 lap old. The set is much younger than anyone else's. And Bruno Miranda, Julian Altena, they were very close before the caution was called. Looks like Altena finding some speed at the end here to keep it very close. And of course, no doubt that this number 11 is chasing the victory for Altena Autosport. We saw one of his teammates getting caught up in that most recent incident in Mauro Ramirez. And now it's going to be that number 11 holding the fort as Bruno Miranda still maintains the lead. It's been Miranda up in front most of the night so far. Dominant driver. And by and large, has been the driver to really control this one for Roar Esports. 18 laps to go and hoping to continue that till the end.
Should be going green next time by. I think all the stops are done unless you're further on back and you have an extra set of tires that you could throw on for a late race run.
Pace car is in. Time to get things going once again. It's going to be led Bruno Miranda. Second place is still going to be Julian Altena. And Matthias Strauss holding on until it's all over. No pit stop so far. Running in the podium. Miranda gets the jump right before we get by the start-finish line. Green's out again. 17 laps to go. And it's a nice jump to keep that race lead.
Nice. Very nice jump. And Strauss actually got himself a nice jump over O'Sullivan. So trying to hold on to that P3 podium. In fact, I think personally he's the story of the race right there. I know that Miranda and Julian are going to battle out for the win here, but Strauss managing to no stop this thing, that is a great strategy if you could pull it off.
And still holding his own to the podium, Liam O'Sullivan is looking, maybe getting closer. Craig Forsyth in the top 5 as well, but now not as many drivers on the track and not as many on the lead lap by that token. 15 to go, and I think right now every driver beginning to settle in knowing this could be the final run. Single file all throughout. Yeah. Drivers are still ripping quick speeds, but either way, Bruno Miranda just ran his fastest lap of the race, and it looks like the fastest lap of the session, and he's coming into just under 189.5 miles an hour. He's still getting quicker.
Yeah, 188.7 is the purple lap for Bruno there, and he just set that last time by. So he is on it, as they say, and he is definitely not looking behind him. Let's say that much. He's looking full speed ahead.
And still moving quickly here, Bruno Miranda has a 0.6 of a second lead. That time by, though, it looks like Julian Altona matched the previous quick time and is only 20,000ths of a second away from the now newest fast time that Miranda set the lap prior. These two are hawking each other closer and closer and getting quicker and quicker. And it seems like despite these tires being a little older, you really do not want to leave anything on the table until it's all said and done. A dozen do it, battle for third. Matthias Strauss, Liam O'Sullivan, and it looks like Craig Forsyth is there too. So third place gonna get looks to be a hotter battle. Forsyth, he's backing up, waiting for things to get a little riskier, but it's Liam O'Sullivan putting a lot of work in to make it by this number 8, knowing the older tires, knowing the situation there. Not much else Strauss can do but try to keep on defending, but now down the bottom side, there goes O'Sullivan.
He sent it. Sullivan got him. But this just shows you how powerful. I mean, he has tires that are 65 laps old, and it shows you how powerful the aero push and how everyone is evenly matched around here. A lot of it's aero push, but a lot of it's everyone's evenly matched. They're same horsepower. It's a fixed race. Everyone's using the same setup. It's how well you manage the tools and do your strategy. So right now, I'm saying that he's losing positions, not necessarily because of anything he's doing wrong. I just think that there's not much left in those tires, especially when you compare them to the 34-lap-old tires of yeah, there he goes, Craig. Craig's tires are middle-aged compared to the elderly age of Strauss's tires.
And very little left there for the driver of the number 8. Matthias Strauss might be able to hold on for the top 5, but John Christensen coming up next as well. So it could be a fight for 5th that gets a little more intense. Bruno Miranda leads by 0.7 of a second, and by all means, he has been the driver to beat all throughout this race, and he's hoping to keep that energy in our next one, but qualifying set the tone. Miranda grabbed that pole position. He started first, and he's been there ever since. Matter of fact, your top 4 on the grid remain in those top 4 spots with now only 6 laps to go. And it looks like we got some battles just behind. Yep.
Hunter Smith, Christensen there. Hunter Smith's on a bit of a roll. He got around Christensen. Now he's looking for Strauss. Hunter seeking out that top 5. I think he might get it here.
Hunter up to the top side. There he goes. That's the move that's made it so many times around Strauss already, but didn't work there. Just didn't have it set up properly. Now down to the bottom. And quickly taking that spot away.
Yeah, and the other thing that we might be looking at is we really don't know how close Strauss is on fuel. He might actually have to, even with all the caution, that he still might have to do some saving there. So it's possible that he might be back in a way lower engine map than the rest of these guys. And he is coming down pit road. That's how close he was. He needs to stop. I thought he could make it based upon the math, but apparently wasn't able to save enough.
And hard fought to keep it up there for almost 70 laps on the track. Yes, 72 laps. Couldn't make it to the end. There goes Matthias Strauss. He's going to go 1 lap down. He'll be finishing presumably in 15th as it's all, or 14th as it's all said and done. And how about that effort? But it doesn't look like now with 2 laps to go, there's a chance to pull it back together.
Yeah, the finish is not indicative of the performance. That's for sure.
I think that has to be the case for a driver who fought so hard with the oldest tires in the entire field until the very end. White flag flies this time by for Bruno Miranda, the dominant man all race long, and he's looking to take this final lap before we head on to Phoenix at night once again for our second race of this doubleheader. Coming down the back straightaway this time by, Bruno Miranda has controlled this race from start to finish and will win the 3rd race of the season. Checkered flag is his. He collects the first victory tonight in Phoenix.
If there wasn't any shenanigans with pit strategy and whatnot, and this was going to be a race that we were going to finish under green, I think he would have won anyways, just by nature of starting up front, being on the pole. He did a heck of a job there, gets the win. I've seen some wins ripped from this guy's hands before, so good to see him get a win. And I would say in near dominant fashion. I mean, Julian was there the entire time, it's just he could not get the run. But congrats to Miranda, and O'Sullivan comes up on the bottom step of the podium for the first race of the day, as we're going to take a small break and then come back at night.
Absolutely, we're watching the celebration now. Bruno Miranda will burn down the house here in Phoenix. Celebration is on, and it's a smoke show for Miranda. Dominant for Roar Esports, and you can see him now parking it just beyond the checkered flag and a start-finish line. You know, before we go to our break here, move on to our second session of the day, let's bring to you our overall race results for tonight's event. Bruno Miranda, simply put, he was dominant. He wins by 0.7 of a second over Julian Altina, and Liam O'Sullivan rounds out the podium with Craig Forsyth 4th, Hunter Smith in 5th, and John Christensen in position number 6. It'll then be Sebastian Kinder in 7th and Finian Dacuna in 8th, with Patrick Zilvazzi in 9th and Yaroslav Donskoy to round out the top 10.
Yeah, I got to wonder how much fuel Mikado needed to get to the finish, but he comes back at 11th. 11 and 12th, Van den Bosch 13th. I believe that is their last car on the lead lap. Then Strauss in 14th. Again, not indicative of the effort put in up front all day long because of fuel strategy. Dan Inch, 15th. Moving on to the second half of the field, Molina, Irvin, Vicente, Murphy, and Ramirez, your top 20. Orman, Bybel, Diggs, Cabral, and Tucker, your top 25. Santos, Telder, Feuerstein, Gallas, and Holmbaum, remainder of your top 30. So big field, and hopefully everyone is ready to go for race 2.
And it's time to move on to what is next. We're going to be back, and hopefully we'll have a little bit of practice to cover our top 3 after this one is all said and done. It's the first race of the Reiter Engineering 280, and it looks like actually we're being asked to talk to some of our drivers here. We'll get them in as we switch over to our next session. Phoenix Raceway and the Velocity Online Racing League will be right back after these brief messages.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Boundless makes its presence felt. It will not be ignored. We're helping turn ideas into reality with a wealth of building products that take every architectural style to the next level. This is what it's like to imagine, build, and transform anything we want into exactly what we seek. This is what it means to be boundless.
This message is brought to you by the rebrand of Throttle Graphics and Designs. This publication may not be reposted without the authorized written consent of Throttle Graphics and Designs. NASCAR Camping World Ford F-150. NASCAR Xfinity Ford Mustang. NASCAR Cup Series Next-Gen Ford Mustang. Arca Menards. This has been the publication of the redesign and rebranding of Throttle Graphics and Designs. This message may not be reposted, republicated, or rebroadcasted without the authorized written consent of Throttle Graphics and Designs. Thank you, and thanks for your time.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel.
If you want to take third, I'll take second.
Visit iRacing.com.
Oh. And coming back right now, we do not have our session up just yet. However, we've got our top 3 interviews coming momentarily. Matter of fact, we got Liam O'Sullivan up with us in the broadcast booth, his first podium. Gary standing by with our third place finisher.
Hey, Liam. Well, it was a bit of a race of survival out there, but I guess the one question I've heard from everybody, or one response I've heard from everybody, just hard to pass. Just how hard is it to pass out there with these cars?
I mean, we didn't really get an opportunity, I think, is the real point.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
There was, it is, I mean, when we pitted, I came from 9th to 3rd. It's possible to pass but I think the biggest issue we saw so many cautions there was just stack ups of just people trying to jump the start, and which is a shame. But then you're putting 30 cars on a mile track. I mean, it's going to happen. Like, but yeah, I hope the race didn't look too bad at the thing. But yeah, it was.
Did you think that those guys that didn't stop were going to go to the because really track position was the overwhelming king here.
Well, yeah, that's what I learned from Kentucky, and I made the mistake of I ended up 11th just because, and that's on a track you can pass easily on. Like I know I nailed the strategy for once compared to Kentucky, but yeah, it was kind of good from my side, but I'm sure 80% of the people didn't see it that way. But yeah, I'm happy with first podium. Yeah, hopefully just as good in the second. Nice to get a reward after missing out in Kentucky.
Well, before we let you go, any shout outs, anybody sponsors you want to say thanks to, family you want to say hi to before we let you go?
I want to thank Josh at Reiter Esports who's sponsoring the race. He reached out to me after Kentucky and said, yo, you want to kind of join the team? So that's why I'm kind of sporting a different livery. They've been super helpful. So that's the story behind the livery change. I want to support them. Say hello to Mum who's watching as well. I know she's... Hey,
Mom. We appreciate that, of course, as well. But it looks like the sponsors doing a little bit of recruiting while bankrolling the coverage, which we appreciate. Well, congratulations on the bottom step. We got a slightly longer race this next time around. Go let you get some rest and a little bit of practice here. Conditions are going to change. We're going to see what happens. But best of luck. Maybe we see you back.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, I think the next race is going to be a bit more of a... grip. I don't want to say more the same thing, but yeah, it could easily happen.
You got it. Congrats, and we'll see you again.
Yep, thanks.
And that was our third place finisher, Liam O'Sullivan, coming through for his first podium and only his second start. So from a rookie to a veteran here, we'll bring over our second place finisher and Julian Altena, who came through just behind our winner. Of course, Bruno Miranda got it done, but Julian, you kept it honest all throughout this race, and you moved through with a second place finish before we get things going once again. So we're in between two races. How do you feel about it going through to what's next?
Yeah, it was a chaotic race. Not really happy about how many cautions we had, but it's being talked about, and hopefully for race 2 it's going to be a lot better. People just need to learn to not lag back on restarts and try to get a massive jump. It's against the rules, first of all, but it's also just a stupid thing to do because it creates an accordion effect for everybody. But yeah, outside of that, I think the racing at the front was good and pretty clean. Outside of that little netcode bit with Cesar, where he lost his rear wing. I was expecting his rear wing to fall back in place, but it didn't. And then he spun in turn 3, so I kind of freaked out and tried to avoid him. There was a bit of a netcode touch between himself and myself, but luckily I made it out alive. Hard to pass in the heat of the day when you're the second car in line. People say it's easy. I really don't get where they get that from, because it's really hard to pass the leader from P2. When you're further in the back, it's a lot easier, but when you're second in line, it's just really hard because of the dirty air, and the leader has the optimal line anyway, because these corners, they all have to be arced like a road course basically. So if the leader is already doing that, there's not much you can do with the dirty air. You can drive a higher line, but it's going to be slower. So yeah, it's going to be hard for race 2 as well. It's going to be easier though, because there's going to be a lot more mechanical grip, which should significantly close up the gaps between all cars when they're out on full speed. So yeah, I'm interested to see how race 2 goes. I think everybody here races Phoenix at night most of the time, so I think we'll be in a lot more familiar territory for race 2.
Night race coming up at Phoenix very soon. Session will be going up, and you mentioned it, different track conditions for our second race of the day here. So 100 laps, going to be just, of course, longer there, but we're hoping to see a little more of that green flag action. How do you think strategy is going to play out? We saw a one-stop event to kick this off, of course, for a lot of drivers. Some would try to go all the way, but mostly typical one pit stop. How do you think it's going to play out here? What's next?
It's a guaranteed one stop for race 2. It might be 2 with depending on how the yellows fall, and also where you are in terms of track position. Like if you're at the back with 40 laps to go, 30 laps to go, I don't see a reason why you shouldn't pit. So for them, it will be a 2-stopper. But if you're at the front, I think the one-stopper is still going to be the way to go. It's still easily inside the fuel window. So I don't think you'll see very much different strategies than what you saw just now. Just a lot less tire wear as well. Like it will be much easier to follow. The tires won't fall off as much. Not like they fall off a lot in the day heat anyway, because Phoenix is kind of broken with the tire model here. But yeah, the tire wear and the tire temperatures will be a lot better for race 2.
And we're certainly looking forward to what's next here with race 2 of the day here. Tell you this much before we let you go and get ready for our next race. Anything else you'd like to leave us with?
Yeah, I want to also thank really the event sponsor. You guys have been talking about it, I hope. But Reiter Engineering Esports, thanks to them for sponsoring this race. And thanks to you guys for broadcasting. Hopefully I'll speak to you again at the end of race 2. But yeah, that's it. I'll go update the standings real quick so you guys can talk about that for the next 20 minutes in practice or so.
And there we have it. Julian Altena comes through with a runner-up finish in race 1, and we're just moments away from getting back to the track for our second race of this doubleheader. Thank you for your time.
Yep, you too, guys. See ya.
And it looks like we've got a little bit of time before we get that next race going. Qualifying in about 20 minutes time. The session will open up in about 5 minutes right now. So we're still looking at our coverage. We'll begin tonight shortly, screen if you're watching live on FTN right now, but we'll keep you covered quite literally. After our first race, definitely saw ourselves a race that was dependent largely on track position. Top 4 guys in qualifying came home top 4 in the race, despite all the shuffling and all the cautions in between. So Gary, what do you think we really took away from this first race before we move on to what's next?
I think the first race is coming down to discipline in the car. I'm reading a lot of the post-race comments here in the Discord server. I think everyone went through a restart now, multiple restarts, so they knew what to expect there. Hopefully, we won't see the pileups that we'll see that we saw in the first one and this one. Starting to see some guys learning the limits of the car. Maybe when you enter low, getting a run on somebody and turn what I call turn 1 here. You're going to wash up. Maybe that's not a good idea to really do that. The high side seems to be a safe side here. So I think they learned some things, but everything that Julian said is true. We're going to have more mechanical grip. It's going to be cooler temperatures out there. We're going to see faster speeds. Might even see a little bit more pack racy. We'll see. That remains to be determined. But even in the real history of Phoenix, having a back-to-back winner is an extremely rare thing. Looking at the history of IndyCar racing at Phoenix, and they typically didn't have same day, same night double headers, but they would have one race in, like I said, the spring, one in the fall. because you won the race in the spring doesn't guarantee you winning the race in the fall. The last time an IndyCar driver won the fall and spring race was 1972. That was Bobby Unser. Now, if any driver could have done that, yes, it absolutely would have been Bobby Unser. But, do we have any Bobby Unsers in this lineup here? That remains to be seen. The only one that can actually do that now is Bruno. Can Bruno do it? I think if Bruno can get out on the front row at the very least and get out there in front of everybody, he might be able to do it. But there's still 25 laps longer, different temperature, different handling. You're going to probably have some different comers and goers this time around. It's not a foregone conclusion. So I think a lot of what they learned in the first race is just how to survive and be more disciplined. I think you're going to see a lot of the racing really occur in this one, as everyone's going to become more racy because of the conditions.
And big time condition shift. A lot of drivers excited to see what happens when the sun goes down. It's Night Phoenix coming up next. And tell you this much, Bruno Miranda, we'll see whether or not he gets the race he wants. And of course, he had it really set up from the very beginning. Those launches off the restarts, the yellow flags keeping him up there and really balancing out that strategy. Nothing too crazy for him there, just running with the restless leaders and making the same call to get him back out once again. A very simple A to B race in that regard for our first winner of the day. However, we could see something a little different here. Seems drivers are much more confident with what is up next. Our 100 lap feature, the second of the day here. Both races are full and count for the overall point standings, and we're recalculating our overall standings as we speak here. We'll bring you back with a full coverage. Session should go up right about now, so we'll be in that session in 5 minutes at the very most, and get you back with the racing action here from the virtual Phoenix Raceway. If you're joining for the first time tonight, I'm David Kreutz, commentating and producing alongside Gary Godstone. We gave you a pretty good race to look back on there. I don't think it's going to set the tone necessarily for what's next. I'm expecting less cautions personally, and I'm expecting a little more action on pit road. Hopefully, it'll come under green, as we're going to see drivers really get to grips with their cars and get ready for the long haul here in Phoenix. We're still not seeing the session up just yet, but race 4 is coming at you pretty soon. One of the biggest takeaways I saw before we get on to what is next here, I think it really comes down to the track's real estate. Not just track position in terms of order, but that real estate from high to low. And we're seeing some drivers discuss it right now. You do not want to roll anywhere below, of course, the apron and such. Just will not work out. We saw some drivers getting under there and coming out from under themselves, so you do not want to play into that risk. However, you also want to find the proper groove for your strategy. Some drivers running it up high. We mentioned previously it was a bit safer up there. Some drivers running it down to the bottom for some aggressive lunges in. And that's the difference that could make or break a driver's night in terms of 100 laps here. If you have more grip in the nighttime, as we typically see, as we will see tonight, you've got a lot more room to travel around the circuit and find out what's the best decision to make for your race. Could be a little more on the aggressive side, could be a little more conservative. And with how many drivers we saw in the previous event, 30 drivers of which, and maybe some more drivers coming in, maybe some more who are choosing not to go back at it again, we're still expecting to see over 2025. So there's a lot of room being taken up, and we're now just moments away as we begin to load in to our second session.
Yeah, session is up. I always like to say, nighttime is the right time for IndyCar racing. IndyCar racing traditionally was, now, okay, let's go back to the dirt days. A lot of those dirt days races would have been done at night if the facility had lighting. Nothing like the Musco lighting that you see today. But it wasn't until more modern IndyCar history that we actually saw our first night race. And that was when IndyCar went to Texas for the very, very first time. Was their very first IndyCar night race. And now I can't picture doing IndyCar racing without, being a night race at some point. In fact, at some point, really, nothing is sacred anymore, especially when it comes to some of the traditions at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. I would not be surprised at some point in time where the Speedway decides to invest in some lighting at the facility and decide to either have the Indy 500 done at night or to avoid the heat, because nothing more miserable sitting in those bleachers at 90 degrees, shoulder to shoulder with humanity and high Indiana humidity, or a second race where they have it at night on the oval. But I can only see that in the worst case scenario when they don't get more ovals added to this schedule. And you got to have oval racing with IndyCar racing. I mean, you got to have it. You can't just have one or two and call that a complete schedule. You got to have, variety. So we're going to see it here. Right now it's dusk. Current sim time is 18:51, and 20 minutes. We got a little 20 minutes worth of practice here. They'll go qualifying here and after 1900, and probably about 1915 or so we'll be ready to go racing, and the lights will be on, and we'll see how things run differently.
And we are loaded in. Drivers are already getting to the track. Matt Teller saying the only time so far at a 19.897. So already drivers under that 20-second barrier, but we saw that before. Now we're seeing drivers going to clips under 19 seconds. 18.935 is now the quickest time and already faster than anything put up in the previous event. Welcome back if you're watching us. Of course, live on FTN, we just locked into our second session of the day, and practice is on the move once more from the virtual Phoenix Raceway. This is the Reiter Engineering 280, and since we have a little bit of time, we'd like to mention it once again. Race sponsor for tonight's event, it is Reiter Engineering and Reiter Engineering Esports. They're looking for new drivers to join the brand new official Reiter Engineering factory-supported esports team. Reiter Engineering competes in several high-competition iRacing leagues, such as the Platinum Endurance Championship, IORA, and the Lionheart Racing Series. This team covers all entry fees and setup expenses for its drivers, and telemetry support is available 24/7. Team members will get custom team paints for their cars, and all team members will get the chance to participate in real-life events. Reiter Engineering Esports is looking for drivers located in Europe and preferably a 4K I rating, so this is more of a guideline and not necessarily a requirement. If you're interested in joining the team, we've left the contact information in our chat room for tonight's race, so be sure to send a message to Hyper and join the Discord server to get in contact. Once again, Reiter Engineering Esports is the main sponsor for tonight's doubleheader at the virtual Phoenix Raceway. Let's bring it back to the action though, Gary. Mark Murphy, fastest right now with a 18.888, and some drivers we didn't see as quick last time around are now up there, so it's a shift.
Yeah, P9, Cesar Cabral, 190.302. That would have put him on the pole for the last race. That gets him P9 here. Christensen, P10, that's a 189.7. I believe that might even have got him the pole in race one. He's P10 here. So Murphy's setting the pace. Murph at a 193 flat. That's booking it around this place. The track record's 194. Set by Elio Castro Neves in one of the last visits IndyCar had here. So, man, can you imagine doing 194 miles per hour around this place? No banking, everything's flat. It's just unbelievable. So the C193, Donskoy, 193.6. So I don't know if that was draft dated or what, but that is a very impressive speed there. Now we're getting to track record territory. We're not talking false track record. We're talking the real track record.
We're coming up on the real life record there. Keep that in mind.
Murph ups at 193.9. Sorry about that.
How about that? I think at this rate, we might even cut a tenth or so further. You think there's a chance now to maybe hit that number and get it under the track record?
At this point, I'll see why not. If everything's set up right, you get a good draft of the car in front of you. This is open practice. Now, we're going to see 193s in qualifying. Maybe not. I think some of this might be draft dated. IndyCar has an additional piece of the timing and scoring that I've only seen IndyCar do, and it's called the no-toe speed. And they're able to calculate what your speed is based upon how empty the track is in front of you. And that they keep track of the no-toe speed. And I've been asking if anyone in that's associated that can do any of the iRacing overlays or timing and scoring could figure out a way to do that, because that would be really helpful for IndyCar racing. Because you see often in open practice before, you'll see someone put up a giant speed, and you're like, well, was that draft dated or not? Now, if we're at Michigan, California, chances are Indianapolis, chances are it was. Some of the smaller tracks, and maybe a little bit more legit. I like to see how much more legit if we got a way of figuring it out. But right now, 193.6, you might see a 191, 192 for qualifications. I don't know if we're going to see a 193.9, which is where Murph is right now. Altena at a 193.9 as well. I'm not sure we're going to see that.
We're still going to find out. Altena ran a very quick time there, only 2 1,000ths of a second under Mark Murphy, and that comes in at fractions of a mile an hour in terms of speed. So those two are very close, just under 194. Hunter Smith getting up there right in front of Yaroslav Donskoy. I think that'd be about 193.7 if we're looking at it, just a bit higher than Donskoy. Yeah, Hunter Smith is quick too.
193.753. Yep, Hunter Smith 173. 193.753. Donskoy 193.695. Now you're starting to see, this is what I would get into in Lionheart Racing, is that the field is so on it and is so dialed in that a 1/10 of a second is going to separate first from 20th.
And we're seeing that already. I mean, top 10 right now is 1/1400ths of a second. The entirety of the field right now is 4/10. That goes down to Bart Firestein in 21st. So keep it in mind, of all the times taken so far, they are within half a second, and they've got room to spare in that half second too. We're seeing some drivers jump on the track for the first time. Hugo Gallas, Figgy Dacuna. We're also seeing Max Molina, Jesper Oerman just joined the session, Eric Mercado, Liam O'Sullivan, and Alaric Vandenbos also there too. So over 25 drivers have registered once again. Big field, might not be as big as the original 30, but we're hearing from some drivers such as Mike Deitch, we might see some more joining the session.
All right, now the biggest, I think, point gainer out of kind of the first race and all the fracas that came out of it is going to be Forsyth. He finished, I think he got, if I go back and remember, I think he might have got a top 5 out of that one. And after finishing on the podium last race, so that's a good back-to-backer there on the old point standings. So I expect when we get an updated points standings here, I'm not sure when we're going to get that, but I think Julian said he's going to get one out. We're going to see Forsyth getting some positions on some people.
Now we're going to throw up on the screen for the viewers here the title fight heading into the first race today. So this is not going to be after our first Phoenix race. This was after Kentucky. You're looking at the championship standings going in, and you would see already who's developing as a real title contender. Craig Forsyth up there. Jesper Oerman. And
not to interrupt you, we're up into the 194 range already. Murph 194 flat. Cabral 194.1.
We're getting even closer. That's the quickest so far, and that's 18.7 in terms of seconds here. So Cabral coming back from, of course, fighting for the lead last race, and then, of course, having that damage and ending up lost and out of control. Still looks to be a quick number 70, and maybe could be time for a bit of redemption. Mark Murphy going to still be second. Paul Irvin now throws it up in third and is just ahead of Altona's time.
Yeah, if you could bring up the points one more time there real quick. So we can get a chance to look at them. I missed them, but I definitely want to talk about each one of the drivers. We got a little time here. We can bring the points back up here real quick.
And we got them back up there on the screen, so we can just keep
there
going.
they are. So, yeah, Forsyth, great day for him because Orman DNF'd. Mercado finished outside the top 10. He survived. Altena is going to be the big gainer over the next 2 spots there. Miranda, of course, the biggest. Murphy's going to be hurting. Tucker's going to be hurting. Santos going to be hurting. Kinder is going to be hurting. And then Kraus, and that's not Strauss, that's Kraus, a different driver. And I don't think he was in today's lineup. So I think at the end of this, you might see a more shaken up top 10. Keep in mind, we are still early in the season where one race result can move you a couple positions already in the standings. 40 Raceware, again, their lead car is Forsyth, and he had another good race. So I expect them to probably hold on to their lead over Alliance. I think Alliance lead driver Orman, again, had that bad day. So maybe E and G is going to make that move over Alliance. We'll see. Altena might make that move up into an Alliance realm as well. But the team points are going to be very fluid right now at this point. But I think 40 probably is going to retain their points lead for going into this race at least. And then I think Craig has actually put some distance on the remainder of the of his competition there up in the top 10. And Craig's a very dangerous driver to give the points leads to, because he's very consistent. You can pretty much expect to see him at the top 10 or near it after every single race.
And that's going to be, of course, Craig Forsyth's big forte here. Consistency. I mean, he's been up there in both races we've seen on FTN so far. And you mentioned it, he got a better race there than all of his competition. Jesper Orman, in particular, really struggling in that last race. And after the win at Kentucky, he hoped to back it up with another strong run. But right now for Orman, he's got to really recover with this one. Was outside of the top 15 in our first race today. Of course, not on the lead lap, so that really got him out of the top 15 by default. He's got the speed. We know that, and we've seen it from him, but looks like those troubles early in Phoenix never really came back from it, even though he does have an opportunity now to maybe put something back on. It's Cesar Cabral, the fastest driver, and his time is standing in the 194 range alone right now. Mark Murphy still chasing it, 13 thousandths of a second behind, but it's the difference in those decimal points right now as we are chasing perhaps a track record in its own right.
Yeah, everybody in the 190s right now. Everybody in the 190s. So my advice to if I was spotting for Jesper, and I've spotted for him before, is I think the biggest problem, and the other problem that we've had before in races that I've spot for him, is whenever we get taken out early, is we're never in our own making, right? It's not just us spinning out and taking ourselves out. We're always in someone else's mess. And my recommendation to Orman would be to get out there and qual and get ahead of a lot of the mid pack where the incidents are going to occur on restarts. Again, another, when I was spotting for him before, a guy in front of him just inexplicably spun out. Nothing that he did. We ran into him. So if we qualified better and we were ahead of him, we would have been out of those problems. So I think maybe if Jesper can make this second race, I think he might want to take a good hack at qualifying to work himself out of being in the mid-pack where the trouble tends to occur. You didn't really see much up with the leaders, with the exception of the Cabral incident. But other than that, I mean, racing up in the top 10, well, we did see the problem with Murphy too. But racing in the top 10 was a lot safer than racing them in the remainder of the mid-pack.
And another top time is going to be Yaroslav Donskoy, throwing everyone's previous out the window. 18.744. Gary, what's that come out to in speed?
Yeah, that's a 194.5. So we are 0.4 of a mile per hour away from the official track record set by Elier Castro-Neves, who had a 195 or 194.9. But everybody in the top 23 is in the 190s, and that's where my speed chart stops. So everybody, if in the top 23, if they would have had that speed for race one, would have been on the pole.
It's a huge, of course, difference. And honestly, I think if we look through every time right now, combing through them, the slowest is a 19.203 for a top time of Eric Mikado. I think that would still give him the pole. So any time that we've seen so far in this session would be the pole time in the previous race. Same track, largely the same drivers. That condition changes all the difference. 71 degrees in air temperature, a track temperature of 74 Fahrenheit, a lot more grip, a lot less sunlight, and it's giving us a lot more speed through and through. 5 minutes and 38 seconds remain, and the qualifying charts are going to begin very soon as drivers still chase the top time. 100 laps will be coming at you live on FTN momentarily. Now, for the viewers who are watching all throughout today's events, and there's a chance to keep on going, Saturday Night Thunder at the Bristol Motor Speedway. It's the Thunder Valley 150. We've got ARCA driver Brayton Laster racing alongside the best in that field, and that kicks off at 7:45 Eastern. So if you don't want to miss the action all throughout the day on FTN, be sure to sign up for our official Discord server. The QR code is on your screen. It'll give you all the access to every FTN broadcast league. If you want to join as a driver, we'd love to have you there. And in addition, behind the scenes access to all the FTN team, our commentators, producers, and we're getting geared up for a great month of February. The eNASCAR Road to Pro Series is coming up, not to mention, of course, keeping some great series going like Integrity coming back, IORA, the Highline Racing League to join the already running broadcasted events such as the IR-18 series you're watching right now with Velocity Online Racing and Saturday Night Thunder. Your Saturdays are packed. Watch out for the rest of the week, though. We got a lot of entertainment to look forward to. And one driver we mentioned was a familiar face here, Max Molina, running 18th. We saw he got a 16th place finish, 6 laps down in our most recent event just a few minutes ago. Now he's still trying to adjust himself to the circumstances of being in this open wheel cockpit. He's quick, but he's got a lot of time to keep improving upon as he right now runs alone. And what's the importance of getting that experience hammered in? 175 laps to get accustomed to the field, and a lot of racing time and a lot of chances to make mistakes but continue improving as a new driver.
Seat time matters. Seat time matters. And if seat time didn't matter in IndyCar, you wouldn't have rookie orientation in real life at the Indy 500. That's how much seat time matters. So the more seat time he gets on his sim and figures out how this car works and handles and the twitches and everything you feel in your force feedback, then he will definitely get faster. 41 degrees difference between the track temp that we had in the last race and this particular race, just to tell you just how much more grip it is. You mentioned Bristol. Funny story on Bristol. Back when the Indy Racing League formed, and they were big partners with Speedway Motorsports and Bruton Smith and his family of tracks. There was an oh-so-brief discussion about bringing the Indy cars to Bristol because a lot of the drivers that IndyCar was trying to, or IRL was trying to recruit to be in their car were of the short track variety, and they wanted to see how these cars did on the short track. Now, hindsight, I'm very glad that never happened. The case in point, go watch the two IndyCar races that occurred at Bristol Motor Speedway, and then come back and tell me that you probably agree with me as well. But Bristol is one place that I am so used to driving an IndyCar. When someone says, if I get on a truck schedule with somebody and they say, okay, next race is Bristol, I'm like, I'm going to sit that one out. It doesn't work well in my mind for some reason.
Bristol's one tough track, and I mean, in a lot of ways, it's the opposite of a track like Phoenix. The high banking is a super short track. Phoenix is a mile long, not too long, but it really isn't as minute a circuit, and Bristol has that banking, which of course drivers rely on. Here at Phoenix, you really don't have all too much. You got, of course, a minimal amount through every corner, and the dog leg, which is not really, you can't apply it in this race, at least during the overall event. You could in qualifying, but it's very slim pickings in regards to how much you can lean on the track itself. You got to keep using the car and keep making those adjustments. And right now, Yaroslav Donskoy, the fastest man even still. Julian Altena right there. They're actually tied to the 1,000th of a second, so we don't even know how close it is, but they're both right up there in the 194 range ahead of Joshua Tucker. Wow.
I got you. Yeah, it's a 194.528 and a 194.522.
6 thousandths of a mile an hour. That's how close it is. I mean, that's something you can't see. You can hardly even understand it. I mean, it's practically the same, but it goes to show there's always that extra thousandth out there.
Yeah, you got to keep working. And then, like, again, and there were times when the qualifying was so tight when they were like racing in Lionheart, and he'd be like, my soul for a 10th. You know, it's just so I can get a 10th. And that would have been a big gain. So just to give you some stats on the track here, 43 seconds left before we go qualifying. But the start-finish straightaway, which is now the back stretch. No, the front stretch is 3 degrees. So it's like, and then when you get to the dog leg, it's 10. It varies. It's variable banking when you get to the dog leg, 10 and 11 degrees. The straightaway from dog leg to turn 1 is 10 degrees, turn 1, and then also the bottom of turn 1 is 8 degrees, so variable banking there. Turn 2 is 8 to 9 degrees at progressive banking. Back stretch is 3, turns 3 and 4 is 10 to 11 degrees of progressive banking. It looks flat, I'll tell you that, but I mean, 9 degree of banking is what they give you at Indianapolis, so these guys should be pretty used to banking that flat here, and obviously, you know, in 194.5 Donskoy, I would say he's pretty used to it.
I'd say so as well. Fastest drivers. The sun continues to set here in Phoenix. From practice, let's move on to qualifying and find out who shakes up to the top of the board, as it's time not for 5 minutes, but for only 3. It's a short qualifying session here because that's how quick these drivers fly through 2 miles. You got 2 good laps. You got to make use of them, and now drivers will get on the way. I think the ones to watch right now, Donskoy, Murphy, Altena, and by that token, he won the last race. I'd still keep Bruno Miranda in mind, but right now, those 3 who really topped the charts in that last session, we're going to keep an eye on them here as qualifying gets started.
Well, remember, no draft, so we will see how these cars now handle completely on their own. I'm going to guess the first lap is probably the better of the 2. But things change when the lights go out, or lights come on and the sun goes down. We might be looking at a second, but I think the tires might be a little overheated by that point. But we'll start getting some times coming in.
First time just got recorded, Donskoy, but it's going to get beat by Zilvazi, Sullivan, Sebastian Kinder, and now it's time to find out whether or not that first lap is really the best. Every single one of these times, save for Cedric Holmbaum, would have been the pole in that last race we saw, so already rapid quick. Wow.
Yeah, so Vasri won 192.7. Now Donsky at 193.6 provisionally. O'Sullivan comes back. Looked like a second lap there. O'Sullivan got better with a 193.54.
Drivers still making their way through. Donskoy and O'Sullivan picked up big on that second lap. Hunter Smith does as well. It's a 18.858, which puts him just a few tenths under. Very close right now for the both of them. And just like that, Paul Irvin moves up to 6. Matt Tedler, 1 minute remaining. There's drivers still taking times right now. Over 20 have taken one so far. And with the exception of Cesar Sebral, everyone is within a half a second once again. Sebral is going to go down to the bottom of the track, and he moves up to 7th.
Yeah, they're going to come on hot and heavy here in the next minute or so. Top is Donskoy, 193.6, which is at 18.88 or 833 seconds.
Binion Dacuna just put one in.
Yep, he did. 193.3.
Alton is going to come around this time by
193.4. Yeah, 193.4 Miranda. Yeah.
Wow.
Murph would run at 193.4.
Final lap back at Alton, coming in this time by.
Yeah, Julian gets a slightly better one. He's back in 17th with a 192.7. See if he moves up. And yeah, there he goes, a 6th. Not as high as he wanted. I don't think he's going to be happy with that one.
It's good for 6, but not much like a practice there for Julian Altena. Still going to be within the top 10, which gives way to our second starting grid of the day here. This is the second race of your doubleheader, and it's time to find out who's got what it takes. Yaroslav Donskoy, Liam O'Sullivan, they were both fast previously, but now they're on the front row together, getting set for the second race of the day. So without further ado, let's bring in your starting grid from the virtual Phoenix Raceway. The sun still setting upon the valleys of Avondale, Arizona, and at the top of the board this time by Yaroslav Donskoy, who is the quickest in practice, maintains that top speed and has it at the top of the board 193.6 miles an hour, 18.33 in terms of timing. Liam O'Sullivan, who comes back from a podium finish in the previous event, he'll make it through. He's second on the board with an 18.84. And Bruno Miranda, who won in the previous 75 lap feature, is in third, 18.846. Joshua Tucker holds his own in fourth, 1,000th of a second behind that of Miranda, and it's then going to be Mark Murphy to round out the top 5, with Julian Altena, the final driver to set a time in the session, moving up to 6th in the last moment, 18.855. Hunter Smith is 7th, with Vinya Dacuna making it up into 8th. Matthias Strauss, who tried that alternate strategy in the last race, he doesn't have the opportunity to do so anymore. You gotta make a pit stop now. 9th place with Patrick Zilvazi rounding out that top 10, 18.871 to be in 10th.
My namesake, Gary Lovern there, P11th. P11, excuse me, Pedro Mabel, P12. That rounds out the first 6 rows. Paul Irvin 13th, Cesar Gerbal 14th, Craig Forsyth got a little bit of a hole he needs to dig himself out of 15th. Seasoned stock car driver Matt Tellers 16th. Maximus Molina, love the name, 17th. Edison Santos 18th. Moving on, Michael Dyke. I'm up with Deitch. I hope I'm saying that right. I really hope I'm saying that right there. He is 19th. Christensen 20th. Dan Inch 21st. Vicente 22nd. Sebastian Kinder, Seb Kinder there 23rd. Bart Feuerstein back in 24th. Still got more to go, guys. Diggs in 25th. Mikado 26th. Vandenbosch 27th. Holbloom 28th. Orban, I don't know, he's going to give it a shot again, 29th. And Hugo Gallas in 30th. And we got an extra driver, Bill Cawley. Bill Cawley II going to come in 31st. We have a slightly larger field than last time for race 2, 100 laps. And we will be watching Donskoy in that Indy 500 race-winning livery of Joseph Newgarden taking the lead there. And he's going now.
It's a quick jump for Yaroslav Donskoy, fastest in 2 sessions already, and he brings us back to the green. Welcome once again to Phoenix Raceway. It's now our second of the doubleheader underway. Quick start there. How about that?
I want no part of... Oh, we're cautioned. We're cautioned.
Dan Ench.
Jonathan Diggs is one of them.
And we got big trouble. Jonathan Diggs, Dan Ench, and we're already under yellow to start this race. Caution is out once again. Let's find out what happened here, as it looks like trouble brewing to begin this.
Okay, so we're coming through the start-finish line. Looking at Dan Inch. He's going to have maybe Bart on his outside. So we're about 3. Let's check up. For some reason, he had to check up. So I'm not sure what was going on. And a couple cars collected him.
And we saw that slowdown there, as you mentioned, involving Dan Ench. As you saw, he slows down first and then catches a few of them off guard. That brings us back under yellow immediately. Lap 2 of 100, and we are already going to be pacing.
So it was already cautioned when he got taken out. So something else happened somewhere else on the track.
That's so, Yellow flag out. We're looking at Diggs coming in, looking at Jesper Orman coming through. Doesn't seem that he has damage, so now we're trying to find out where that incident really happened. Sebastian Kinder, he's in. Doesn't look to be anything major there. Dan Ench, though, we saw him involved. Michael Deitch also going to come down to pit road again, and it looks like he's coming in for the first time of service. We saw him, of course, in the grid as well, and he's going to be on pit road with the rest of these drivers. Yellow flag was out by the time that occurred, though, so it's interesting. We didn't catch much else.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened there, but they went to a yellow, and so Inch is slowing down because he sees yellow on his dash, and so what we get a warning. And he should also get a spotter warning, but we'll get a warning on our dash with some yellow flashing lights. That says you got a caution and you're going to slow around, but the problem is somebody running over you that's not paying attention. And I've been there. I've been run over, and I've almost run over somebody. So you just got to be pay attention and alert. What I typically do, if I can, is immediately go to the low side of the racetrack and try to get out of everyone's way, and then watch my rearview mirror, see if make sure that I'm not going to get plowed into. But that's kind of what happened there. Something else happened on the racetrack. Not sure what and where, but as a result, I think Inch got ran over.
And we saw the yellow flag, and we saw a wreck immediately after. Time to hopefully get things ready and sort up for a longer green flag run. Donskoy,
Active Racing,
and Bruno Miranda. That's your top 3. Some familiar faces, but Yaroslav Donskoy coming out of nowhere almost to be the fastest driver in this session so far, and he's hoping to keep that speed as they come across the start-finish line.
Now.
This time by.
He is coming out of traditional turn 4. He's bringing him up to speed. Oh, he is on it at like the old start-finish line, which is, I guess, you could do. That's not a bad idea. I like it. And he has himself a 3/10 of a car lead, 3/10 of a second lead going in to traditional turns 3 and 4.
Doing it different, but it doesn't give him as big of a lead as anyone else before. 5 laps in, we're back underway. Liam O'Sullivan, Bruno Miranda, Joshua Tucker, and Mark Murphy. That's your top 5 as it stands. Look further back, you'll see drivers getting settled in. There's Max Molina. He's going to be just behind drivers such as Gary Lovern, Pedro Bibel, and Paul Urban. And as everyone begins to settle in here, we're hoping to see that long green flag run come into play. More grip. Harder to really lose the car from under you. And we're seeing some drivers come down to pit road again. Looks like one driver just immediately dropped in. That's Bill Cawley, the second. And Bill makes it through as there's a battle between Patrick Zovazzi. And now it looks to be down under Pedro Bibel.
Yeah, something happened to Seb Kinder, so he is out of the race. He might have been involved in that incident that happened. So he's now classified in 31st.
Don't believe Seb Kinder took the green flag in this race, actually. Or no, he did.
Right.
But you can see he's classified as 31st. That's odd because it looks like he made it and then just barely left immediately after. That might be what we didn't see. And either way now, leader catching up to lap traffic. That's Dan Inch. And as we were talking about before the race, these drivers who are lapped have the right to defend their position. That was close, but it looks like Donskoy made it around and keeps the race lead with Liam O'Sullivan right there behind him, still hounding for the top spot.
Forsythe's up to 14th, gets around Cabral. He's on a run now. He's looking at the backside of Paul Urban. I think he's going to get a look underneath him here going into 3 and 4. He holds his line good. A little floaty float, but he keeps it off him and the apron.
And still Craig Forsythe trying to make some spots up as the caution flies again.
Yeah, we have something happen up there in front of the leader, and I'm not sure where Donskoy was, but he was like fighting the car to try to find a lane, and I wasn't sure if he was the leader, if they're going to give him back. But I think he was trying to slow down for caution, and he saw the car sideways in front of him. Not sure who that was.
And we're taking a look right now, and we can see it again. Liam O'Sullivan and Donskoy were fighting each other, and then it gets crazy from there.
Yeah, he had a car sideways in front of him, and he's trying to stay out of the way of the car behind him from running him over. I'm not sure who that was, really.
We're looking right now. That appeared to be Bill Cawley. We mentioned him going down a pit road, but Cawley finds trouble once again. And how about that? I mean, Bill Cawley went down a pit road previously, and we're now looking once more on the stream.
That might be a damaged car that he was looking, just the way it kind of came around. It's still too early to be burning off the right rear with too much weight jacker. So I think that might have been a partially damaged car. Yeah, and he punches out, unfortunately. But short night for him. I don't think it collected anybody else, but Liam O'Sullivan now appears to be the leader out of all that. So he completed the pass. And we see Inch getting the wave around here, or the lucky dog. So O'Sullivan completed the pass on Donskoy to get the position before the caution came out. So he is your new leader. Donskoy second, Miranda third, Tucker fourth. Tucker and Sullivan are going to be teammates out of this mess here too. So we got teammates bracketing the top 4. Mark Murphy is 5th, Julian Altin is 6th, Hunter Smith is 7th. So everybody in the top 9 is where they started, with the exception of Donskoy is down a spot and Sullivan's up a spot. So not much movement has occurred up front. So these guys are going to want to get on it and make some positions up now. We're our second caution in on lap 13 coming to 14.
At the line for Liam O'Sullivan, he knows one thing, that he didn't really get much opportunity to pass. We talked to him in between our races here and said that was one of the biggest struggles in regards to making spots up and getting a chance to go for the race win. Not many opportunities because we did have our fair share of yellow flags. Now, we've already seen 2 so far in this second race, and we're hoping to maybe see less of which as time passes here. But O'Sullivan's got the race lead now and has that track position. The question is, how well can he hold on to it with Donskoy, who's been been quick, and Bruno Miranda right behind. Miranda was the fastest by far in the daytime. He's still running very well up here in third. And for Yaroslav Donskoy, he was the fastest in practice and qualifying and has led most of the laps, besides that incident getting away from the lap machine of Bill Cawley, who is now disconnected from the session. O'Sullivan, for the first time, is your race leader all day long, and now has a chance to set himself up, unlike any, of course, time previously in this event. And we'll see how well he can hold on to it here, because there's definitely pressure with so many drivers such as Donskoy, Miranda, Tucker, and Mark Murphy there. Even Julian Altena, who now runs in sixth. A lot of the best drivers from the previous race are coming up there trying to have a chance to go for the lead.
Yeah, I see some chat there, and Donskoy was asking if he could restart earlier instead of waiting later, and I think that generated the result of the last restart, which I liked. I really did like that, hitting that restart there midway down the old front stretch.
He's going to go up top again, set himself up, and we'll see if Liam O'Sullivan adopts the early restart maneuver, if he'll keep it a little more typical, as other drivers have chosen to do so in this race so far. It's going to be 15 laps in out of 100. O'Sullivan gives him the go, and we are moving once again. Going to get a nice jump over Donskoy, and the green flag will fly once more. Second restart, O'Sullivan's got the jump.
Yeah, top three, nice little breakaway.
And you look further back, Joshua Tucker going to be there in fourth. Your leaders do get away nicely. Rest of the field still going to try to set themselves up as time is already passing. 16 laps in. And for the front, there we go. Yeah, Donskoy up top. And the caution's out again.
Pedro Bibel.
Look at it. Yep, Bibel is in reverse right now and backwards, where it looks to be minimal damage. Yellow flag is out, and all the same, the 88 machine is involved. Take a look with the instant replay and find out what caused it.
Oh. Well, he went to the apron. Or, no. Looks like he got loose off corner one or corner two.
And we're bringing that feed right back to you again. Yet loose, bobbled under, and got followed through.
Oh, no, there's a car that was in front of him. If you go to his in-car, Bibel's in-car, there's somebody bouncing off the wall, ping-ponging in front of him. I'm not sure who it was. But you can see from his point of view what he saw. He's coming around start-finish line, his start-finish line, sees a car shoot to the inside wall and bouncing all over the place.
That was Hunter Smith.
And then he kind of got run over a little bit. But gosh, I mean, after seeing that, I'm like, yeah, I understand why he reacted the way he did.
So Hunter Smith came right up the track, and he was damaged by that point. He was far gone. He was a destroyed car. He disconnected, by the way.
Yeah, well, I think he had a packet loss, and he did a mid-race disconnect. So what they were seeing was a lag of some sort.
Almost like his car ragdolled through, as you see.
Yeah.
How about that? And that's, again, something you only really see when it comes to online racing there, and you see drivers are dropping down. There's a shadow of smoke, and that's what gives way to the wreck here. So Bibel just reacting to the incident that he saw. He tries to avoid Hunter Smith and then gets contact, which sends him around, giving way to the yellow flag. That's how it went down.
Well, only 19 laps in. Too much caution at this point, for my opinion, but we're down to 27 cars now on the lead lap. We have 4 cars so far that are either not on the lead lap or in the pits for an extended stop. But yeah, a lot of early cautions here again. So I wish these guys would get a little bit longer to race. I like to see a good green flag stint.
I think we've been hoping for that since the start of this one tonight. I mean, now we got a chance. I mean, the grip is higher, should be a little easier to drive in terms of, getting yourself settled in. So we are hoping to see longer green flag runs, but still has not come of these drivers so far. And I mean, we got time, 20 laps in out of 100. that's 3 yellow flags already, and we've seen before only 3 yellow flags in a whole race. So maybe it cleans up from here, but right now no indication as the drivers come across the start-finish line.
Well, we got Forsyth is up 5. We got Van den Bosch up 13. Holmblum up 13 as well. And, well, just keep an eye on Jesper. He's in P21. He's up 8. So I think these guys in the lower portion of the mid-pack just need to keep their eyes really downrange, eyes focused downrange, and survive now. I think they'll work their way up to the top here by the time we get to the end of this thing. We'll see. But if it's my strategy, I want everything in front of me now at this point. If I have to stop, just allow cars past. If I have to stop in pit road just to top off one more time, allow some cars past, give up track position, I want everything to occur in front of me. The only thing, the minimum thing that I want to do is stay on the lead lap.
Gonna be a night of attrition if it all plays out the same as our first race here. Liam O'Sullivan gets to lead him once again, and for O'Sullivan, he's got the exact opposite situation. Everything has to happen behind him no matter what. That's where he wants to be, up in the lead as he gets the jump. Once again, Donskoy tries to follow through, but O'Sullivan's got the power and brings him back. Green flag's out for third restart, and we're already underway. Top 2 guys get away nicely. Rest of the field seems to as well, and they're all gonna be single file coming across the stripe once again.
Well, Donskoy was a bit of a good run between 3 and 4 there down the backstretch. I know what turn it is, guys. I'm an IndyCar guy. This is traditionally, but he's got a good run now through 1 and 2 through the dogleg. He's going to take a look to the inside, and he pulled that pass off on the low side relatively easy. So I'm not sure if O'Sullivan's now thinking deeper picture going into fuel conservation. But Donskoy made that pass easily, and he has a lap car in front of him. That's Dan Inch. I'm sure Dan will probably stay out of the way, but good racing up front.
Barry now, I mean, when you say Dan Inch, keep in mind, most recently when he was lapped before, he did not get out of the way. He has the ability to keep defending his spot, so expect him to do so. But Donskoy's hooked up nicely here, and we thought that it would be a little more troublesome with O'Sullivan getting the lead. And that's not the case. He takes that lead back almost effortlessly on the bottom side, and now you'll see Dan Inch does go to the high side, so he will not fight that battle. O'Sullivan gets by through as well, and a quarter of the way in, it's once again Jaroslav Donskoy, the fastest driver, and shades of Bruno Miranda earlier, but look who's there. Bruno down to the bottom side. He's looking for second.
Good etiquette for Inch. Give him recognition for that. Bruno Miranda trying to repeat. Of course, we mentioned in the pre-race, real IndyCar racing, the repeats typically don't happen. Last time a repeat happened at Phoenix at an IndyCar race was 1972.
But it looks like there is a chance here. I mean, Miranda's keeping the pressure on. Right on board now with Bruno in that number 70-18, and you'll see how hard he's pushing it. 5th gear, he's going to shift right back up to 6th. And lays back a bit right now as he tries to go down to the bottom side and collect himself going out of turn 2. Down the back straightaway. Once again, Miranda's now going to see O'Sullivan go for the lead.
Yeah. Got a good run down the back stretch, down in the 1. Side by side. Now, is Bruno going to try to make it a 3-wide party here? And I think he will. And he gets the position on Donskoy, staying low. O'Sullivan, and coming through is O'Sullivan's teammate now. That's Tucker. So remember, Tucker dominated good chunks of Kentucky. Now we're going to go 3 wide in the 1, 3 wide in the 3, actually.
And there you have it. It's going to be Joshua Tucker involved, and also Mark Murphy gets in the mix. And it's now going to be 5 drivers going for that race lead. Everyone's trying to get a piece of the pie now as they continue to fight for that top spot. And look at how close they are here. There's really no margin for error.
What I wanted to see, yeah.
You just got to keep on going here. Bruno Miranda's got the race lead. He won previously and is now looking to repeat that double. And all of a sudden, he's gaining time and has that track position to back it up. And we've seen a Bruno Miranda, once he gets that race lead, he can jet away from the field and keep himself out there without all too much trouble. The real problem for him is a caution flag is going to fly that rebunches up everyone. It's Michael Deitch involved, and it's going to also involve Bart Firestein.
I'm about ready to say you could throw a blanket over that top 8 there, but we get the caution. Let's see what happened here.
Looks like Deitch was up high to kick this one off, so let's watch from there. Coming through the dog leg, and you can see kicks off there, and Deitch, no, someone just hooks up there at the top of the track. Was that net code? Take a look. And not clear for either of them, and that was a real contact, not net code, mind you, and it destroys two cars.
Santos just came right up on him, it looked like.
Not quite sure what that was. Edson Santos did not appear to be clear at all, and Michael Deitch is going to face the consequences. Both of them lie on pit road now. The yellow flag flies again, 34 laps in. And for Deitch, he's running the doubleheader. He'll be at Bristol as well. Not a great way to start the night. And he says in the race chat, not clear, not happy at all about what happened, transpiring between those two. He thought he had the right of way. Honestly, look, he kept his line.
So it kind of, well, there might have been, Deitch is in the Menards car, and he might have had a moment. I'm going to double check to make sure he did have a moment where he had to kind of check up at the very least. So if we look, he's right in front of Jesper Orman on this, the shot that I have of getting ready to cross the start-finish line.
I hate to interrupt, but 4 people have just disconnected at the same time for upload packet loss. Huh.
And I think he kissed the wall at the dog leg, and now he just kind of checking up. And then Santos clearly wasn't clear. But, man, okay, that's just... I don't think I'm going to be with Michael on this one. I don't think Michael did anything wrong. I mean, he did kiss the wall, but that happens, and then you got to recollect yourself, and then they kind of get run over from behind. Yeah.
And it looks like we just lost Joshua Tucker among 5 who just disconnected due to upload packet loss at the same time. They came in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm not quite sure why that's the case. Looks like server perhaps, but that was a very quick margin. We just lost 5 drivers.
Yeah, and they are, I know Tucker's coming in off international, Strauss is coming off international, Vanden Bosch is coming off international. I'm not sure where Mikado's coming out of. Vicente, I'm probably sure, is international, but yeah.
And a chunk of the field, including a driver contending for the win, mind you, just disconnected all at once. So that's... We'll see whether or not that's actually got any weight to it in regards to being connected. But at the same time, it's interesting. That's a good chunk of the field, including some competitive drivers.
Yeah, I've seen that happen before, and it was a problem with the iRacing service. There was something going on. There was one time there was an odd bit of code where the game would crash, where if an Indycar would get into the fence, and I remember being part of a race that got dropped, and I was in a really good position, yeah, I just lost it all. And it's like, well, there's nothing you can do about it. So hopefully these guys can get back in and maybe make some positions up, because we know we're going to see some attrition. But that I've been there. That's just awful. I feel for those guys that have dropped.
Yeah, the last I heard of that was a solar flare that apparently kicked it off in an oval racing session in the U.S., but we're seeing the drivers are joining back now. So Edson Santos disconnects of his own accord. Bruno Miranda disconnects himself from Liam O'Sullivan and gets things going once again. Your race 1 winner back on the way. Green flags out, lap 37.
It's a disconnect that he definitely wants, but he gets a good margin over O'Sullivan, over Donskoy. Murphy now in the picture. Julian's up to 5th. None of these guys have stopped yet. 1st through 9th have not stopped yet. The first car on the racetrack that stopped is Silvestri. P10 there.
And now trying to pull away. Bruno Miranda continuously making a little more time. Yaroslav Donskoy, he's now going to be looking for second, going down to the bottom side. He's made it look easy before. Can he do it again? Doesn't look like it's going to be as easy that time by. definitely working that car through the dog leg, so Liam O'Sullivan keeps it troublesome. As you can see now, Vandenbos, Vincentini, they both connected once again, and we're hearing about it right now in our YouTube chat. Just looks like iRacing has some trouble, and that's an unfortunate circumstance, but O'Sullivan's fighting alone. His teammate no longer with him, but he'll keep on going here. He's one of the guys working with Reiter Engineering, our race sponsor, so he'd love to put in a good performance right now. As you can see, in second, firmly holding on to a podium spot. Donskoy trying to keep the challenge on, but right now looks like it's Liam's second place, and Bruno Miranda once again in first. 41 laps in, he's been the driver to beat so far tonight, and it looks like that's the case once again, with now only 60 laps remaining. He's led most of which all night long already, and he's keeping it that way, as pit strategy is soon to come. All but now 13 drivers have gone down a pit road for one set of tire, and the leaders are the majority of which who have not come down. So at about the halfway point, I'm expecting to see some drivers make the move in, knowing that it should be about a one-stopper the way things roll.
Yeah, the leads are stacked back up a little bit. 1, 2, and 3. You can throw a blanket over them right now. Top 9, top 8 have not stopped. At least on the racetrack, where you mentioned the number of cars that overall hasn't stopped. I think those that have stopped already still have to make another stop. I don't think they can make it with where they stopped versus where these guys are going to stop. These guys right now are still looking at a one-stopper. The leaders, all 1st through 8th right now, they're looking at a one-stopper, while most everyone behind them is looking at a two-stopper. That's if we go green the remainder of the way. So they're looking for another stop.
And Bruno Miranda still keeping it up on the bottom side. He's got the lead, keeping it up in position, mind you. But Liam O'Sullivan hasn't made it easy. You can see O'Sullivan drives up high, tries to use the power outside of the dog leg, and he's got Yaroslav Donskoy there as well. Donskoy's really turned it on. O'Sullivan and Miranda were both quick in the previous race. Mark Murphy was quick before his incident, but for Donskoy, he almost came out of nowhere here, and he was quick from the beginning of practice, but by no means has he let off since then. And all of a sudden, the 91 team really, really quick. He's got it hooked up proper, that's for sure.
Yeah, pretty impressed with him so far this race.
And he's really shown that development from race to race can certainly change. A faster race in terms of the speed. These guys are really hitting the grip much better, and it gives some more confidence, as you see
Bruno washed high. That allowed now 3 cars to get by him. I don't know if he's trying out this high line for an experiment or what, but it's not coming in the way it did for Kentucky for him.
And there goes Bruno Miranda, and he's now going to be down into 4th. From the lead down to 4th, not good at all, especially since he seemed to have it up there. But a wiggle up is going to cost him not just the lead, but the podium. It's Liam O'Sullivan leading the way now at the line. Make it lap number 49.
A bit of a run.
And there goes Donskoy.
Yeah, like a bit of a run going into 1 and 2, 3 and 4, whatever you want to call it. He's going to take a look to the inside now as he does a crossover. The low line through here is not the fastest line. You're going to see that right on an exit right there. But it still keeps him in the ball game. Here comes Murph. Murph's just looking for a clean place to racetrack so he can get his coverage on the wings. Here comes Julian, actually. Julian and Finian Dacuna and Maximus Molina.
And those are some names you might recognize, of course, for Dacuna and Altena, but for Molina, this is only his 2nd race, and he's by no means an Indycar vet or an open-wheel vet in any sense, but he's there and has the pace to stay up in front. Donskoy and O'Sullivan continue to fight. 50 laps to go this time by. We've made it past the halfway marker, and now we're coming into the clutch, and everyone's got to set themselves up for what's next. Lap traffic coming up, as you mentioned, Gary. What's going on?
So we got lap track. It's going to start impacting very, very shortly how the win gets to Liam and Donskoy here, because they'll be in their draft window, which is about a 1.5 seconds, and then they'll start pushing big time in the corners. Here comes Murph.
Mark Murphy down to the bottom side, takes the lead once
Three
again.
wide.
And Julian tries to go low, can't really find anything there, but still remains close while Max Molina gets the draft again. The 45 is all of a sudden bringing Finian Takuna in too. It's really 7 drivers in one bundle right now. That's how close they are, and they're all really giving it a fair shot for the race lead. I mean, right now Murphy and O'Sullivan control the discussion. Miranda has led a lap or two. I mean, he's quite a few, honestly. Donskoy, same as, and Altena, who's been up there since the start. Molina and Takuna are some drivers we have not mentioned today for the most part, and all of a sudden they're turning it up. Max Molina, he's going to be working the back bumper right there of Donskoy, and
Donskoy just slid right up in front. He had a wicked push. I mean, he had nowhere to go. And maximum effort here by Maximus, where he is, hopefully he's mastered the tools on these things, because he needs to be really working the bars and weight jacker to keep these cars, to keep this car from, to keep it turning. That's really what's going to happen. Their car way up high, trying to stay out of the way of the leaders. I think that's Seb.
And luckily that lapper does not get involved, as you mentioned.
And here comes one of the leaders to pit road.
And there it is, Liam O'Sullivan and Donskoy.
Yeah. So Donskoy entered pit road like back in turn 3, which you can do if you want to. But he is right there. As long as you're down to the cone, to the speed limit. So they're going to hit their rounding the corner.
Mark,
remember, they can't.
Big advantage now.
Yeah, Murph has a big advantage. Remember, they can't cut in until they're about 3 spots away from their pit road, from their pit stall, or they get a penalty. So there you see, yep, and yeah. So these two are hitting pit road. Donskoy comes in a little cockeyed, but he'll get it pointing the right direction on the way out. There he goes.
Mark Murphy, Miranda, and it looks like also going to be Finian Takuna. This leaves out Julian Altena and Max Molina. They're coming in this time by. We're going to watch them both come through. Molina's charging hard to get back up to Altena, and they'll both make it in just fine. So all their leaders are making it in. Now the question is, undercut, is that the best way to go? Is it best to wait longer or be stuck in the middle?
Sullivan got into the wall at the start-finish line. These cold tires, he pushed up, but we'll see if this is the car we want to watch. This is where we want to see where he pops in with the rest of the traffic when he stops shake out. So let's watch Liam. He's currently in 18th. When everyone else stops, he'll start making up some track position. But I don't know if he actually I think he hit the wall. Here he comes around Bruno. Here he comes around Murph. So he gets there, he gets the position on them, and actually a pretty decent little margin as a result.
Molina
so the undercut is the way to go. Car in the wall up top there at the start-finish line. That is, I'm not sure who that is.
It looks like Altena and Molina keep it close, and it's going to be side-by-side already. Sullivan with the warmer tires gets by. Molina really loses time there. They shuffle back in. Big gains for Altena overall. Of all the drivers, I think Julian really makes the most of it from back of the leading pack to second of which. Very nice job there. Molina drops back into effectively 5th, and it's going to be net 3rd and 4th for Miranda and Mark Murphy. Donskoy is going to be now behind Finian Takuna, so it looks like that's not the most productive of pit stops for that 91 team. Just now trying to figure it out as he's now behind that number 94.
Battle for the lead side by side, Forsyth and Irvin. Now these guys last pitted on laps 35 and 34 respectively. 34 for Irvin, 35 for Forsyth. So they are still another 20 or so to go before they need to pit.
They're still out there. They're fighting each other for the race lead. Understanding that every lap could mean a lot more. Yellow flag
going into 3.
And it's the leaders.
The dog leg.
Not necessarily the ones who pitted. They were still out there. Sebral, Matt Teller, Gary Lovern.
Yeah. They were racing for position. And next thing I see is a 3-car pileup right at the... I almost said going into 3. That's just out of habit. But then again, it's in the dog leg. And we'll see what happened. But... oh... darn. Okay, so it's Cabral, I think, did a little ping pong off the wall and then kind of steers down, and you hate it. You hate it. You hate it. You hate it. I don't think anything malicious without of that. It's just a little bit of ping pong, and the other guys are in the wrong place at the wrong time. So Craig Forsyth, these guys at the front, they can stop now. The other guys that have stopped already later in the run, they're good to go to the end.
And how about that? I mean, Cesar Sebral, once again, for the second race in a row, quick, caught up in a wreck up in front. That's the worst of it. Now Paul Irvin comes in, Craig Forsyth as well. A lot of your heavy hitters who have not come down to pit road. Jesper Orman, Hugo Gallas, Gary Lovern, we saw in that incident, and Pedro Bibel. Now it's going to be the group up in front who we mentioned before. O'Sullivan, Altena, Murphy, Miranda, Molina, Donskoy, and Acuna. They will be once again in charge, and it'll be Liam O'Sullivan who leads the fort as he's going to get his lap back this time by.
Yep. Yeah. You feel sorry for all those drivers that were just kind of making time, waiting for their pit stop to come for them. But now everybody's on the same strategy. Everyone should be good to go to the end. Some might be lighter than others. Obviously, some are going to have better tires than others. There's one thing I've seen at this track more than anything else, and this is even going back to the Season 4 race that I participated in when VOR was here, is that when something happens in front of you, everything just happens so quick that you would think that you normally would have time to avoid such incidents in front of you, and you just don't. It's just indicative of how fast these cars are, how little visibility you have in front of you, and how fast really just things happen in general.
And with how quick we are, even quicker than the day race. I mean, 190 plus miles an hour. You're much ahead of 190. Some guys are hitting 192, 193. You got very little time to react to anything going on around you, so it all happens in a blink of an eye, and even quicker than that for a lot of these incidents.
So let's do a bit of a reset. Still showing Paul Irvin as your leader. I know that's not right. I think timing and scoring will reset one more time when everyone goes by. Irvin going to go pit road again for some reason.
Comes in one more time. Forsyth to Firestein, and Jesper Orman there. Yeah.
Maybe he didn't get tires. I don't know. We'll see. He's heading down pit road. Maybe he just sees that there's too much around, and you're like, you know what? I'm just going to fall to the back and let's just let those guys knock themselves out. Still showing Forsyth as a leader.
And I think that might be the case if we're looking at it right. I mean, I'm trying to understand why that would be, but if we think about guys like Molina and company who were involved with that pack before.
Oh, okay. No, I'm looking down. Yeah, I'm looking at the guys that were right behind the pace car, and they're getting the wave around.
So Forsyth has control.
So Forsyth, well, he managed to get out in front of everybody. And obviously you're going to have a decent margin over all those that pitted, but they're going to come back, but they got the wave around. So interesting. All right, so resetting, and I'm not sure why Irvin got back in there because he would have been up with the leaders. Forsyth, Bart Feuerstein, Jesper Orman, Hugo Gallas, Pedro Babel. That's your top 5.
And we've only got 11 drivers on the lead lap now. Forsyth is going to benefit the most, and your points leader gets the jump once again. 31 laps to go. Make it down to 30. Craig Forsyth now has the keys to victory in his hands, and Orman's going to be second.
Yes, we're on the low side to Bart. Bart kindly lets him through. Bart might be on his last set of tires, too. I think he's hit pit road a couple times. We'll see. He is racing Jesper. Jesper now starting to pull away. Hugo Gallas in that Backfire Motorsports car. He is racing our early leader.
Leaders are starting to pull away. Now, if we look back to the last on the, of course, lead lap, Mark Murphy, Miranda, Altena going at it right now. This is a fight for 8th. Altena's in front of it, and Miranda's trying to take a spot or two away as well.
Donskoy is down a lap. Probably asking himself, how did I get down a lap? I think he's still recovering from his pit stop right there. Yeah, top 11 are on the lead lap. Max Molina is P11. He's the last car on the lead lap. Murph, P10. Forsyth getting passed by Jesper. So Jesper low exit off of 2 there. Back up front. Wink brings it out wide for the entrance into 1. So Jesper up 28 spots. Craig up 13 spots. Heck, even Bart up 21 spots. And he's holding off. Now, that's not a battle for position with Bart's racing right there. At another point in the race, that would have been a battle for position. That is not a battle for position. So Bart can let him go, and he's not giving up anything but track position. His battle is with Gallows right behind him. And there's Gallows there in that Backfire Motorsports car. Great little paint job that they put on all their cars. Now we got a bit of a 3 in-formation group here with Bybel, Irvin, and Altena. I think those are all teammates, I believe. At least 2 of them
together.
are.
Yep. You can see those VOR paint schemes coming together in the front of the field now. It's such a different landscape after that big game-changing caution and the strategy getting thrown out the window. You think pitting early is good enough, and then you see that happen. Forsyth really played the game. Orman did too, and for these 2 drivers who battled at Kentucky, who were not really in the limelight in our first Phoenix race, all of a sudden now, from the back of the field up, Orman has climbed most every spot in this race, and Forsyth has gone from the middle of the field up himself. 22 laps to go, and these 2 drivers are in the mix with each other again. And really nobody around them. Hugo Gallas is now racing for 3rd. Looks like Gallas is going to get it that time through. They're going to be side by side. Bart's going to give a run down to the bottom side, but really not much of anything, except Gallas really high there. Luckily keeps it out of the wall and actually getting a quicker for him. Yeah,
I think he's given a lot of room to Bart there, being very respectful.
It works out nicely there, and you can see Hugo Gallas gets back on the way. Looks like there's going to be a black flag in the air for Patrick Zovazzi. Looks like the number 17 machine is going to be ordered to, at the very least, go down a pit road, so Zovazzi faces a penalty, and that's going to be a black flag from the admins. He will drop down low.
He must have... Oh, so it was a black flag from the admin. Not sure what happened. How he got that. I was thinking it maybe was something on the restart.
I think it's regarding the previous wreck if we look through the chat logs there, but that's all I know of it.
All right. Okay.
And yeah, black flag is going to be the first admin black flag we've seen all of today's events, not just this race, but both of which. So now Zovazzi goes down and in. Orman's still going to be leading. They'll put Patrick 1 lap, now 2 laps down. So that's going to be a black flag coming in for a lap machine all the same, and it'll drop him outside of the top 15.
Yeah, I think Donskoy is kind of, I'm reading the chat there, and he's kind of out of disbelief how he's a lap down. He goes, of course, I caution when I'm a lap down. So Murphy's Law impacting him a little bit rougher night. But you know what? He has ran down the leaders. He's right there. I mean, the leaders would be probably smart just to say, you know what, dude, go. But he's right there, and he has been fast all night long. And even a lap down, he's not showing any loss of pace.
For Donskoy, this really would have been a breakout race for him because you could see he has that race-winning speed inside of the car, but just has not been able to show it now ever since, of course, that most recent caution, putting him 1 lap down despite the speed he has. Really the opposite of what he expected, the opposite of what we expected, really. And now with 15 laps to go, he's racing behind the leaders, but he's not racing for position, which I'm sure it upsets him, definitely. But he's watching, waiting for maybe the opportunity to get back on the lead lap naturally. All things considered, he stays back here. He does get the lucky dog. He does move himself back up to where Molina or Sullivan or those drivers would be. He'd be back in that battle, but you just got to wonder, for a driver like Donskoy, who shows up out of almost nowhere to become the fastest guy in this session multiple times over, to have one of the fastest laps in the session overall, actually only a few hundredths of a second slower than someone like John Christensen. It's just got to be a disappointing blow for this entire operation, knowing how quick they are all throughout.
Yeah, and if I'm Jesper and Craig, I'm not going to buy just knowing how fast it is. If you could stay down there a lap down, I don't have to worry about you. Car to the inside there of the leaders, getting out of the way. Not sure who that was. Sergio Vicente, maybe? Yeah.
And it looks like as we look through, Vincentini's coming in this time by. It's going to be dropping in a pit road for Vincentini, slowly rolling in.
Okay.
And looks to be scheduled stop there. I'm thinking 18 laps on his stint, so that has to be the case. Craig Forsyth has been letting slowly but surely Jesper Orman get away, and this would be Orman's second win in 3 races if he pulls it off. 11 laps to go this time by, coming up on a lapper. It's close call, but nothing crazy. 10 laps to go as they pass by what looks to be there. That's going to be Sebastian Kinder once again.
Yeah, we got Sebastian Kinder getting out of the way. Nice thing about Phoenix, it's a short track, but there's a lot of room to give. So if you are multiple laps down, you can yield if you and pretty safely yield. Now, I say that there's been a lot of multi-car wrecks, but when you plan everything accordingly, you can pull it off. It looks good, but still a wide track, plenty of room to give everybody.
And thankfully in this race, the room has been given. I think we only have 4 cautions in this race out of 100 laps, if we go all the way green, that is. And better than it was earlier with that 75-lap feature. This one has gone much cleaner overall. And, I mean, honestly, it's unfortunate that yellow flag took out what would have been the heart of the battle. But they're still fighting here. Max Molina makes up in a 9th. Hugo Gallas is now in 10th. Limo Sullivan 8th. And Gallas is facing the heat now. And right behind, you're also going to see Bart Firestein. But there's a lapper battle. John Christensen, he's right up there with Cedric Holmboom. This is the battle for 14th. Just because, of course, things got shifted up doesn't mean the battles are over. Vincentini just disconnected, by the way, so that's what the explanation was for that most recent pit stop.
Okay, Gallas, I wonder why he's kind of fallen through the top 10. He might be doing some fuel conservation to get to the end. 6 more laps there, buddy. Hold on. He's racing looks like a lapped car there, so he's not going to lose a position. The only car he's racing is Feuerstein, and Bart's back behind him. So if he could get it to the finish, he's looking at a top 10, which is after a rough first race, a top 10 is sweet victory probably, but at least it would be for me. But looking further on, O'Sullivan, Bybel side by side. We got a big battle. Oh, Murphy and Miranda, my goodness, about getting acquainted with their front wheels there.
And this is the battle for the podium right now, right ahead with Paul Urban and Julian Altena. Altena looking for 2 consecutive podiums and would be the only driver to pull that off if, of course, this number 11 team stays where it is, currently running right there in 3rd. And Paul Urban's close, man.
Urban stopped not too long ago, and he stormed back through the field. He was right there with Craig and decided that he wanted to stop and then stop again. So he's driven through all this mess twice now.
Yeah, but 2 laps to go. He's there working down to the bottom side. They're really close there. Wow. 2 to go. 10 seconds behind the leader, but they're still fighting because Jesper Orman, this time by, he's coming down to the white flag. One lap to go.
He has 1 lap to go, but he has a lap car in front of him. So let's see how this manages to shake out.
Craig
Forsyth. Half a lap now.
He's right there behind, but I don't think there's anything that can be done now. Orman's going to work his way through, and from 29th on the grid, he'll go from last to first and take the checkered flag. Really, the domination that we saw in the first race contrasted. Orman, from the back to the front, will win in Phoenix, taking the 2nd race of the day. Forsyth comes home in the runner-up spot, and Altena makes it home with 2 consecutive podiums. Top 3 twice over for Altena, Forsyth 2nd, and Orman. How about that? The tables turn, and it flips for Jesper, who's now got the win in Phoenix.
Oh, he didn't listen to me. I said he should qualify and get out ahead of all that stuff and not have to fight in the mid-pack, which is taking him out in the first race. And then when we were racing back in the US 500 a couple weeks ago, took us out in the mid-pack there as well. So he avoids it, gets the win. Can't quite say back-to-back, but seeing Bruno Miranda limp in with a bad wheel, but something must have happened after they crossed the start-finish line. But 2 out of 3 races, not too bad. It's going to help him. And Craig, just another consistent race. He hadn't won anything yet. He's getting close, but IndyCar has history of champions not winning the championship, but not having to win a race. We go back to USAC's season in 1978. Tom Sneva didn't win a single race, won the championship. Also that season, Alan Sr. He won the IndyCar Triple Crown, the only IndyCar driver to ever do that. Didn't win the championship. Doesn't matter. He had like 3 or 4 DNFs that season, whereas Tom Sneva had none. Tom Sneva wins the championship. Do the math. He can do the same thing with Craig Forsyth here. But I got a feeling Craig is going to break out with at least a win or two more this season.
Craig's consistency keeps him up there, but tonight, for our second results run-through of the day, it's Jesper Orman, who's a race winner here in Phoenix over Craig Forsyth by a full second, and it's Julian Altena then in third with Paul Irvin, 4th spot. Mark Murphy going to be 5th, and Liam O'Sullivan is in 6th, with Max Molina coming home in 7th in his second race in his campaign. Hugo Gallez is in 8th, it's Bart Firestein in 9th, and Bruno Miranda rounding out the top 10. And we'll go from there.
Something happened. Yeah, sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but something happened to Miranda on the last lap that he was up there in that battle for 5th, 6th, and 7th, and something happened to Miranda, so not sure. But 2 top 10s in one day, not bad for him. Finishing out here, Bybel 11th, Donskoy, just bad luck. Bad luck with him. He was the fastest car on the racetrack at just about every point during this race. P12, Dacuna 13th, Christensen 14th, Holbloom 15th. Moving on to the next set, Diggs, Salvazzi, Inch, Vandenbosch, Kinder, your top 20. Vicente, Mikado, Lovern, Cabral, Telder, your top 25. Deech, Tucker, Strauss, Santos, Smith, your top 30. And then we have that final car in 31st, which was Bill Connolly the second. So a slightly larger field, 31 cars. But I think between me and you, I think the racing was better this time. As we were almost promised that in the pre-race.
I'd say so. We're looking back right now at what happened with Bruno Miranda on the broadcast here. So let's take a quick look back. I mean, we saw Molina makes it by him pretty easily. Miranda, I think, might have been saving fuel at the line. White flag. They were side by side. So we're taking a look one more time with Bruno before we get our top 3 in here. He looks to be fighting with Max Molina. Molina looks to make contact, and they both slide. Molina saves it, but it's destruction for Miranda. That's what happens. Coming out of turn 2, Miranda and Molina get together. Max Molina saves it, and Miranda gets the worst of it. Damage for Molina. No, it looks like Miranda got through with the worst and gets really pounded up. Wow.
Oh, and Bybel got it too. That's just too bad. Too bad. Now he has to limp that bad boy home for a finish. Yeah, I've been there, buddy.
And it's very unfortunate there, but we'll get your top 3 in and speak of more fortune with Julian Altena coming home in the second spot, rather the third spot tonight, second in our previous event, coming home with another podium here. And Gary, you're going to be standing by with our third place finisher here. Julian Altena comes through on the podium, looks to be waiting for us right now. And let's make sure we've got Julian with us here as our waiting room is getting busy. There we go. Gary, you're standing by with our third place finisher.
All right, Julian, second verse, same as the first almost. 2 podiums in a row. I bet you that really helps you in the points championship. You got to promise that it will be a better race this time, and it looked like it was a better race once it finally got going. How was it for you, though?
I want to go back. I didn't promise. I was hoping. But yeah, it was good. Like race 2 was honestly like 100 times better than race 1. There was still a few things that need to be worked on for the next doubleheader at Gateway, which is quite a while away, but still. But I think overall the experience, I think it was fun. It was different. I think people need to get used to it, and that's why maybe in the first race we had so many yellows, because people just didn't know how to race in a league setting, in kind of an Indy fixed race distance league race. So people will need to work on their mindsets, like not just a few specific people, but everybody. I think everybody as a league kind of needs to work on that. But overall, I think this event was solid. It lays a solid. Can't speak English today. It lays a solid foundation for future doubleheader races. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that goes. But on my race, I enjoyed coming back through the field a little bit. I know there were some gold seekers, as I called them in the voice chat, who are trying to get another few yellows to kind of do it on one less stop than everybody else.
Do you blame them?
No, I wouldn't.
Given how the race developed, do you blame them?
No, I wouldn't blame them. I actually think it was a decent strategy based off of
Too,
race one.
yeah.
Yeah. I knew that they were in my way, and they would all drop out pretty quickly if it stayed green, and they did. Like Bart and a few other people like that, they tried to stay out as long as possible, and they just dropped off a cliff because they had to save so much fuel. So it was pretty easy to pass them. But yeah, after that, I think I had a good battle with Bruno. He slid up into me in turn one. Old turn one, turn three though. So I'm not sure if I damaged my car there or not, but he sure did get the worst end of that one because he finished down in 10th and I finished on the podium. So
yeah, he actually
take
had an
it.
incident coming to the checker with another driver. So maybe as a combination of what happened between you and that final incident, but. He finished 10th. He didn't get the sweep, but a good day for him. A good overall day for the league, I'd say. Any final shout-outs? Anybody you want to say hi to, thank while you're here? And we'll get you on your way so you can do some race adminning.
Oh, I'm gonna have to do a whole bunch of that because there's people that are upset and there's people that are complaining about nothing because their teammate violated the rules and they're now mad at me because I'm doing race control the way I'm supposed to do it. But okay, no, but I want to thank Reiter Engineering Esports for sponsoring this race. I want to thank 40 Racewear for also sponsoring us during the dark year. I want to thank you guys for coming in and just everybody else that came out today. It was a good field size. Like great to see 30 plus cars again. In VOR, I think this has been the biggest field size in 2 years at least, maybe even longer. So really happy to see the growth of the league. Still some teething problems to sort out, but that will be done over the coming weeks, and hopefully by the midway point of the season we'll be back to normal. And in terms of having very few yellows, which we are all missing, we were very proud of that record. Less than 4 yellows or less a race. So hopefully we can get back to that soon. But yeah, I think everybody put on a great race despite the circumstances from earlier. So I want to thank all those guys.
Oh, good points day and a good league day. I'm sure you're going to be happy all around. Congratulations, and then we'll see you at the next stop when that comes up here soon.
Yeah, Zandvoort next week, my home race.
Zandvoort, yes. That was what I covered with the Indy Open, so I hope everyone likes banked high-speed corners.
Oh, I do.
I know you do.
I'm Dutch. It's in the blood, man. I
know. It's at the seashore, too. You can have a big old holiday over there. We'll catch you later, Julian. Thanks a lot, man. You did a great job.
Yep. See ya. Thanks, Gary. Thanks, David.
All right.
There was our third place finisher. We spoke to Julian Altena twice over, but didn't get a chance to talk to Craig Forsyth or Jesper Urman any time before, well, first race. We saw, of course, the both of them in Kentucky racing well. Forsyth makes his way to the podium, and Gary, you'll have our second place finisher coming right up here. Craig Forsyth with us now.
Hey, Craig. Not a great first race. I think there was just too many cautions there to make any really magic happen. Still had a good finish, got some good points out of it, but a better second race and a better points day, if you want to call it a day, out of the second race. Got up there and started racing with Jesper there at the end, but he started pulling away. Just nothing left for him.
Oh, I had nothing for him right from the start of the race. I was shocked that he was starting at the back. So I even made the comment. It was like, yeah, he'll be up here eventually. And once we had the restart and I saw that he was the guy who was now behind me, I was like, yeah, I'm done.
Oh no!
It's like, yeah, he'll be on me in less than 10 laps, and I think it was like 5.
Yeah. I know the feeling. It's like seeing Jaws in your rearview mirror.
Yeah, there's those certain tracks that I've got a good speed at, but I don't have that next percent to. You can see it even when I was leading the first time after the cycle when everyone got caught out, which was good gamble by Matt and myself. We both were like, nope, we're gonna pit in and that'll give us like 20 laps of in case something happens. And it's just unfortunate that Matt got caught in. I think it was Caesar hit the outside wall there.
Yeah, that was.
He was disappointed because it was going to be really good to leave just us on the lead lap, but no. So that worked out well for us. But yeah, once even at that point, I couldn't stay ahead of whoever. I think it was who was it? I was racing with at that point.
Paul Urban was up with you
Paul,
toward the
Paul,
end.
Yeah. Paul was totally all over me, and I mean, good on him. He was able to hold first, no problem whatsoever. and that's just the little bit of skill difference I'm missing still at Phoenix.
Well, how is the skill difference at Zandvoort coming up? Because you are now the points leader. I think you extended the points lead. I think you made extended the lead on just about everybody this doubleheader race. So how are you, and what are you looking for at Zandvoort?
Well, I should probably buy the track, and I guess I have a week to learn.
Yeah, you do. Okay,
I do not own Zandvoort, and have it was actually it was on the official setup or on the official series for this week, and I completely missed it. And I was like, well, that would have been a good thing to learn, but nope, missed it. So it's gonna have to learn it. It's going to be interesting, that's for sure.
School time for Craig.
Yep.
Well, shout outs, I'm sure, of course, 4D Racewear.
You betcha. Yeah, Jim over at 40. And that's been the car sponsor for a couple years now, and during the dark times, and still here in the good times. It's too bad he can't be here racing with us on the Saturdays anymore. But I know he loves to see the broadcasts. So it's good for all that to be back. And you guys over at FTN, and it's good to hear from you, Gary and David.
That's good. Always good to be here. Always good to talk to you up in the interview room. We always want to thank Jim for his support. And we will see you after some lengthy practice at Zandvoort then.
You betcha. Stay safe, guys.
You take care.
Now, time to hear from our race winner. Craig Forsyth kept him honest all race long, but now we're talking with Jesper Orman, who came from 29th on the board to make it up to our top spot of the podium. From the back of the field all the way to the front in only 100 laps time. Didn't even need a qualifying run to get you back up there, Jesper. You come home as a winner here in Phoenix, and really everything falls in your favor at the very end.
Yeah, I was just chilling a little bit. Map 5 saving fuel, waiting for that caution. It eventually came, and I got lucky, and yeah, I was there.
And at the right place at the right time, we saw that caution really flipped everything on its head. You were fighting with guys like Craig Forsyth, keeping it up there on the lead lap, not going into the pit road early. That's what really made the difference. So what kept you out there instead of going with the rest of those leaders that really made the difference in regards to you winning?
You sure you want to know?
I think I'd like to, yeah.
Yeah, because I was kind of having a couple of beers, and I really, really needed to go, so I had a pit, and I was running. I ran to the place, and I came back like 2 seconds ahead of the pace car, and I was like, okay, I am on the lead lap. That's fine. I'm good. And from then I was like, okay, I'm 14 laps short. I'm gonna need a yellow. So I went to map 5 and just waited for something to happen, and it happened. And then all of a sudden I was in P3, and I was like, okay, this is good. And then I just went to map 1 and went for it. And the only one who could challenge me was Craig, and he was like on my tail, and could have gone either way. But hey, I won. So yeah.
Oh, what a circumstance. Everything really works out well there in that way. I mean, if it gets you to win, it gets you to win. Isn't that how it's all about? It played out right.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you look at the first race, I did exactly what the rules say. You go when the car in front of you goes on restarts. So that's what I did, and boom, that didn't go very well. So sometimes you're unlucky, sometimes you're lucky. If you're lucky enough, if you're lucky for, let's say, half of the season, maybe you can finish in the top 5. Who knows?
And we spoke of you before the race got started. You needed a rebound race in this second event, and you got that and then some. The race victory is just about anything that someone could ask for. You get the best result. Now it's up next, Zandvoort. You're going to go back to those twists and turns, and I doubt you're going to have the same strategy in mind, but the winning picture, of course, you got your mind focused on it. We've seen you win twice in 3 races so far in FTN. You think you can keep going and maybe go for maybe a hat trick of sorts?
Maybe. I mean, I think most of the people in the Indycar community knows, I'm more of an oval specialist. I mean, I can turn right, I can, but just not as fast as the fast dudes. So we'll see. Gotta be honest, I don't own Zandvoort. I'm gonna think about it. Maybe. Who knows? I mean, it's a
That's
great
okay.
track.
Craig doesn't own it either.
Okay, good. So if he's my main rival, maybe I can think about it twice. But yeah, I should probably buy it because I've heard it's great in these cars, and I mean we're back. You guys are broadcasting. That's great. Everyone's back. Everyone is hyped. All the series have a great participation. I've ran a couple of fixed this week at Atlanta. It's been a blast most of the time. A lot of people. I mean, it's great. IndyCar, we're back and we're strong. And yeah, let's go all the way to May, month of May.
And kicking off the season so far, getting that recovery run to the second race, Jesper Ullmann finds strategy with a bit of luck and makes his way to the checkered flag, a winner here in Phoenix. Is there anything else you'd like to leave us with before we let you go until we get to Zandvoort?
Nah, that's all good. But okay, one thing that I always forget to say, Slava Ukraini.
And there we have it. Jesper Ullmann gets it done, pulls it through, and the checkered flag will be his, winning here in the second race of the Reiter Engineering 280. Thank you for your time.
Thanks.
Well, how about that for Jesper Ullmann? I mean, it worked out. He got the win. I didn't expect to hear it the way it went out, but Gary, I'll tell you this much. I think that's a great note to, bring in our final thoughts. What are you thinking after we, pull together 2 races here in Phoenix?
Well, he's had a good week. Part of the Indy Fix series, we had a doubleheader on Tuesday, and that's just to pit my program a little bit. That's race first. We cover the IndyCar Oval Series now is what it's called, the official iRacing IndyCar Oval Series, and that we held do the top split on Tuesdays at 7:15 p.m. Eastern time. And he was involved in that race, and we did a doubleheader because it was coming to Atlanta. We kind of expected some pack racing. Not quite pack racing, but some good tire management those guys did, and they made some great close finishes at the end. And he was on the podium for both of those races, and then he bookends his week with a victory here. So good on him. I will say this for we can come back to the Phoenix here. Maybe we want to see what Legacy Phoenix acts like with these cars versus this one. That's just an opinion of mine. But if we get some more discipline later in the season, I think the short track racing will probably perk up here a little bit. As for Zandvoort coming up, Zandvoort was the track of the week for the IndyCar Open Series, which is the Open Setup Series, and that's we covered that just before coming on the air here with you at FTN. I was on Race First doing the top split for Saturday 1 p.m. race. And that track, it has some interesting signature corners. However, there's not a lot of what we call natural passing zones. So you kind of got to wait for the guy in front of you to make a mistake. Not a lot of slow speed corners at that particular track. So I think next week we're going to see, I might even call my shot. We might see, I think we have a road racer and Liam O'Sullivan, and I know that Julian will want to do a good showing on his virtual home course. So I'm going to call my shot and say those are the 2 guys we probably want to watch next week. While I don't think Jesper and Craig are going to have a bad week. I think they're going to have a good, consistent week. I don't think they'll be fighting for the podium as they were on the ovals here. Just looking at now, I could be wrong. They might spend the week practicing and all of a sudden surprise me, and I'll go ahead and eat my words. But I think this week is going to belong to going into Zandvoort. Probably looking at Liam, probably looking at Julian, probably those more of a traditional road racing type of guy coming out next week. But it's going to be an interesting track to cover. It's going to be something that you've never seen here before on this channel in terms of if you see a lot of stock car racing. Zandvoort is just it's a very technical track, no slow speed corners, a lot of high bank signature corners. It's going to be interesting, and I'm sure you'll learn a lot in terms of how you cover road courses next week when you start looking at Zandvoort. But I think we're going to see a whole different monster with the VOR League. I think we're going to see some different names at the top, and it should be a good race. So stick around next weekend. Same bat time, same bat channel. Check us out. And, of course, check us out at Race First come Tuesday night to 7:15 Top Split, we'll be doing Las Vegas. And then the Indy Open Series, we'll be doing next Saturday, 1 p.m. Eastern at Texas Motor Speedway. And you can follow me on Twitter at Gary Godso. And that's it. I'll turn it back over to you. It's been great being with you as always. Always so fun to be here. You guys are so professional. I'm looking forward to the rest of the season. It's going to be fun.
We can't wait as well. Matter of fact, tonight on FTN, the racing does not stop. We'll be back Thunder Valley in 2 hours' time with the Saturday Night Thunder Expedition into Bristol. Going to be a fun race there. Been great covering these two races with you, Gary. Of course, we split it up, gave ourselves one-day race, one night. I think it actually got better as time goes on here, and we got ourselves a good race to finish things off. So on that note, we'll leave the viewers, and we'll have you guys hopefully back in 2 hours' time for Saturday Night Thunder. The Grand National Series heads back east as we conclude our trip out to Arizona. Saturday night, well, we'll also be back next week with Zandvoort, the Grand Prix, 48 laps here, and VOR will return to its regular time of 3 o'clock Eastern. We'll be live, and we'll have you one great race to look at as we head back to the road courses. I've been David Kreutz alongside Gary Godso all night long here. This has been the, of course, Velocity Online Racing League IR-18 series, and it's been the Reiter Engineering Phoenix 280. We thank you all for your immense support, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. Be sure to leave a like on the stream and subscribe to the channel, and we'll be back next Saturday with more action here from Phoenix. Thank you all, and we hope you have a great night.
Good night.